107.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
Ten to one is murder. Good morning, folks, to all our listeners on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio. Welcome to 10 to 1. And Dookie in your company for the next 3 hours. To all our viewers on YouTube, RCL U975 FM, welcome. And of course on the traditional radio band of 975. Also streaming live on Facebook. It's Sunday, the 19th day of July. Just 2 weeks before the general elections. 3 weeks before the general elections. August 10th, that big day, August 10th. Where are you casting your vote? And yes, the political silly season has begun, where back and forth accusations are flying left, right, and center from every one of the 21 parties contesting the election. That's right, there are 21 parties contesting this year's general elections. I will name some of them for you later on in the program. But as we customarily do on 10 to 1, let's go through the headlines, the main newspapers. The Trinidad Express headline, bar brawl. Opening hours back to 10 p.m. But pub owners heading to court tomorrow for compensation. Owners are still going to court with a decision to once again allow bars to open until 10 p.m. From tomorrow, a legal claim have been filed against the state. Last week, by 316 bar owners and the Barkeepers Operators Association of Trinidad and Tobago. They are still proceeding to court with their senior counsel, Anand Ramlogan. We have new cases of COVID-19. Trinidad and Tobago has recorded another new COVID-19 case, bringing the country's total to 137. And as I indicated, the political silly season is open. Live sport probe. Cops looking at ex-government official. Who is that official? Another headline in another newspaper here, the Sunday Guardian. Arrest coming in $549 million EMBD case. UK firm helps local police with fraud probe. Businesses, politician linked. Who are those politicians? You know, as I was reading about the EMBD, Shiva, I don't know if you remember the name Uttara Rao. Oh, you don't know. Uttara Rao was a character. He was the head of the EMBD under the Manning administration. He was accused of being in a lot of fraud. In this article here, they are accusing, of course, the former Kamla Prasad-led government administration of being involved in fraud with the EMBD. But it seems like the EMBD did not change their feathers. They have been involved in fraud from as long as I can remember. because even before that administration under Patrick Manning, Uttara Rao was a very close friend of Mr. Manning. He was one of the most overly paid CEO of the EMBD. But in these accusations, in an investigation by Mark Bassant, the lead editor of the Trinidad Guardian, it is said close to 5 years, this was the modus operandi of the elaborate scheme involving a politician, a prominent businessman, advertising heads, security services, special advisors, and communication specialists. Apparently, they have ordered materials amounting into millions of dollars that were never used for projects. And this is why have always been a call from journalists like me to publish bidders. Where is the security in bidding for clarity, more clarity, particularly where government projects are concerned? In another article here, cops shut down UNC PNM motorcades. Gary Griffith, Commissioner of Police, he have said in a release and made it quite clear that political parties, they are breaching the law. He said their application does include a proposed date for the motorcade and relevant time and the intended route. Griffith said that the music truck must also get the required permission from the police and the licensing authority. Well, not surprising to everyone that Jack is back. Mr. Jack Warner, as he walked about yesterday in the Arouca area, Arouca Lopino Bonnet West, he said, I will be very stingy in campaigning. Very stingy in campaigning spending, that is. The Independent Liberal Party leader, he said, the candidate for Lopino Bonnet West, Jack Warner, he said, I'll be very stingy in campaign spending. Warner, an embattled former FIFA vice president who has claimed he financed the election campaign of the former People's Partnership government, told the media that this time he's very conservative. As he walked about in Tacarigua yesterday, he stuck to his guns. Warner said he have accused Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley he have accused him of working with him to help Mistress Kamla Persad-Bissessar lose the last general election. But the Prime Minister have denied this. He said Jack is lying about any alliance with the PNM. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley have accused the ILP leader Jack Warner of lying about brokering a political alliance between the PNM and the ILP. He was responding, of course, to an article that was published yesterday. When Mr. Warner have denied this, he said the media should go and call Kenny De Silva, former National Carnival Commission chairman, and he will corroborate everything that he have said. Well, I was trying to get Mr. Warner on the line earlier, but he did not answer my calls. Probably he is busy on the road campaigning. We will try again a little later on to this program. Now that he have revealed that he had aligned up with the People's National Movement during the last general election, I want to ask him whether people on the ground trust him now. And what he thinks his chances are, and what are his plans for Lopino Bonnet West. We will try again to be in contact with Mr. Warner as the show progresses. Coming in with me, joining me from 11 a.m. is financial consultant David Walker, as well as our financial expert in-house, Ved Seram. Before we return to take your calls, we'll take a short commercial break and we'll be right back. 10 to 1.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia, for all your plumbing and electrical supplies, water heaters, filters and water pumps, plus all parts for Gould, Pentax and Leo pumps. Choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BTCino, Leviton and General Electric. Call 665-6954 for more information. KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia.
Visit Eddie's Pharmacies Limited newest location inside JTA Supermarket, C3 Center, Current Village, San Fernando. They offer blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol and pregnancy testing, as well as all pharmaceutical products and over-the-counter drugs, along with CDAP prescriptions. Sagicor Caricare International Medical Card, Guardian Life Provider Card and Republic Bank points are all accepted at their 3 locations of Eddie's Pharmacy Limited. RS Building, Rocha Douglas Road, Barrackpore, GN Building in Pinal, and C3 Center, Current Village, San Fernando.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Cunupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liqueur, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liqueur, wholesale, and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
Puzzle lovers, rejoice! Your free 24-page Newsday puzzle book is now available twice a week, only in your Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. Now you really can look forward to staying home. Newsday, independent and credible.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This ad brought to you by the PNM.
Sign my name with a golden pen, a golden pen. Sign my name, yeah. Anyway, we vote in PNM. Sign my name, it's a PNM pen, yeah. A PNM pen. How will you sign my name? It's a PNM pen. We vote in PNM.
On August 10th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
(10:22) in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We have on the line with us Marsha Walker. Good afternoon, good morning, Miss Walker. Welcome to 10 to 1.
Hi, good morning.
I see you are making headlines again in a negative way. Did the police commissioner shut down your motorcade yesterday? Hello?
Yes.
Miss Walker, did the police commissioner stop your motorcade yesterday?
Yes, he did.
What did the police tell you?
He indicated that I didn't have permission directly from him.
You wasn't aware that you had to get permission?
We got
The party got permission? Are you hearing me? Did the party get permission? Miss Walker, you can shift your location a little bit. Hello?
Please.
We lost that communication there. That was Marsha Walker. the UNC candidate who was campaigning in the Carenage area, and the police commissioner had accused her of causing traffic and confusion, saying that they had no permission to campaign in that area. And there was a showdown between the commissioner and the Diego Martin West candidate. But let's go to the lines. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Miss Anduki.
Good morning, sir.
I have to run for you since 5 to 10. I don't go like we're here and there. So I got to go run for you, but I'm not going to hear you.
You see, you should have come in. You should have come in Princestown and picked me up. I had difficulty getting transport.
You alone this morning?
Yes, I am here.
Well, you gonna call me and tell me I'll come and bring you up, man. And on Sunday,
next Sunday, I will know. I will know to do that next Sunday.
Yeah, well, I think the police commissioner should send down guidelines to the various police districts, because for he to take on that task of getting permission to hold a meeting or a motorcade, and people suppose to have guidelines, right? So the police and the local police station have the guidelines. So in the event you're not obeying the guidelines, they will ask you to obey it. Or if you don't obey it, they will look at it and shut down the motorcade. I don't think the commissioner, he's so busy to take up on himself. I feel that
you think the commissioner have time to look at motorcades?
But that was
something so, well, I don't want to call it trivial, but do you think the commissioner should be taken up with looking at motorcade?
I think he's trying to feel important of the election coming up. But
or you trying to be in the media?
You have guidelines handed down, and you make sure the different police...
You hand down, of course, you hand down the authority.
They have the authority to shut down or whatever, or ask people to conform.
Well,
I don't know why you put the emoji...
Griffith was seen, if Griffith don't... Listen, Griffith was seen in a heated conversation with the candidate.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, he wanted to make the media. So he pulled the plug on both the PNM and the UNC motorcades, because he didn't want to appear biased. Okay, listen, Ofe. He did not want to appear biased. But do you think that this should be something for the Commissioner of Police to handle? Come on, Mr. Griffith. Look at all the illegal guns coming into the country. Try and stop that. Hello, good morning.
Hey, Ms. Dookie, how are you doing this morning?
Very well.
Good. I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Go ahead.
All right. You know, Ms. Marsha made some serious allegations, but the allegations in the newspaper, as it was published, caused our Prime Minister to really become on the defensive again.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she did what she said, how when she had her daughter had met the Prime Minister manhandled her daughter. He was rough in talking to her, or maybe he held her hand and he was rough with it. And she said, look how he treats children compared to how Kamala Bissessar treats children, the kind of love you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you hear something like that now, we know the Prime Minister is going to hug every children because, you know, today with these kinds of allegations, you have to be so careful today.
Well, you cannot be hugging in COVID-19.
That's right. Right.
You have to touch elbows.
Right.
So you shouldn't expect the Prime Minister to hug you.
Absolutely. 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 But that event had taken place a while ago. And I feel like the Prime Minister is constantly defending him because character. And nobody stands with him. He stands alone. Have you noticed that? He stands alone all the time. And you'll never see his women group running behind him, other groups supporting him. He's not a leader. And when Ms. Bissessar said a blank man or a black man, it doesn't matter because he's devoid of ideas. He's a follower, not a leader, and he's now trying to find himself. And time is of the essence for us. He's playing games with us. I say that it's time for us to vote, and we're going to vote for change. We're going to vote for a better future for we children and for farmers. And everybody should get land. We have to do land reformation and constitutional reformation. I'm going to let this go because there's a lot more, but I feel that I was so proud listening to the UNC last night. They did a live radio on the radio, and Ms. Bissessar said, she said, look, I made mistakes. I had a shot at it and I made mistakes. Forgive me, I realize it. Let me try to build the country now. We learn from we mistakes. If everybody think like that and we took time to introspect, we could build this country.
Yes, it takes a big person to admit that they have gone down the wrong path.
It takes a strong woman to say something like that. and to stand up and say it. I give her credit for doing that. But you see, people will smear her and say, oh, she's corrupt, she's crooked. You don't know that what is in that woman's head. You don't read her mind. We're not soothsayers here. But from her behavior, I say she cares about early education, and she will invest in public-private partnerships again. And we will see more good partnerships where children thriving and jobs are getting created. I'm going to let that go.
Okay. Hello. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. 636-7547 2275739. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am not worried about the politics, because politicians will go and they will come. And the same thing will happen again. I saw something very interesting on the media this morning about the fella they call Mr. Boss, the big boss, and that the land, people had given out the land. It's a long time now. I spoke about this in two or three other times already. And I am glad to know that so much information was put out there in the media. It's very easy to add one I want to get and see who these people are. One is a minister, but I can't call no name. I ain't have no money to go to court. And then I would be very happy for Mr. Jack Warner to win that seat. I know it's only one seat.
Caller, let me engage with you a little bit on this. This issue with the big boss, with the EMBD, right? That was under the last administration. The point I was trying to make is that whichever government is in power, you have the same thing happening, because under the Manning administration, you had the EMBD coming into corruption with Uttara Rao, who had over $50 million in corruption charges, who fled the country. You remember, he was Manning's good friend.
No, well, wait.
I just
joined the program, you know. I didn't know what
Yes, well, I was making that point that whichever government is in power, you have the same thing happening. And that is why you need finance reform.
Well, I was surprised to see that thing on the internet. I was very surprised. Now, I have feelings about what normally take place, but I can't do anything. And if the government go after these people and arrest them and so on, I would be sitting on top of the cloud, because they did too much. And another company that they need to look into is the Education Facilities Company. Same thing like EMBD. They need to investigate into
the EFCL.
Yeah. The same goddamn thing. Remember when they had in the news, when PNM came in and they say, from the last government, the people who was in charge of that company, they were busy backdating contracts. Do you remember that? All these things, I'm glad. Even if PNM didn't do nothing, I would be happy for the way they managed the virus and the way they handle the thing now. I want to see people go to jail. And that $400 million that they took from us cane farmers, and they say, when the former prime minister was asked about that, I take the money and we give it to the planning minister, and planning minister say, I give it to that same corrupt company to build access road, not for cane farmers, but for sugar workers. Time for these people to go to jail, and the only thing that I want to see come out of it is these crooks put up against a wall and get shot. Thank you.
Thank you. 636-7547 2275739 if you wish to get in onto the program, or you can WhatsApp your message on 3784975. Back to this issue with Miss Walker. I am seeing here where she was hostile. She was accused of being hostile to the police. Now, she was waving a piece of paper in front of the commissioner face, saying that she got permission. But further checks by the media, Sunday Express checked the piece of paper, and it appeared to be what is a quotation for what is the cost of police for extra duty. It was not permission to hold a motorcade. If you have to have a motorcade, you have to get permission for the music truck and you have to get permission for people gathering. Remember, particularly in this time of COVID-19, you need to have permission, special permission. And that was not the case here, which is why the commissioner pulled up on her and she had a heated exchange with Commissioner Gary Griffith. 6367547 or 2275739. You can call me in there live. Some of the other stories making headline here on the newspaper. Apart from the EMB, the story is the big story for the day. And the new positive COVID cases. Tunapuna, the seat of Tunapuna seems to be on the margin. Tunapuna, situated along the east-west corridor, a constituency with 26,650 registered voters, is one of the marginal constituencies. Before we continue there, let's hear this caller. Hello, good morning.
Yes, with me again about Gary Griffith.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Griffith, why he want to be in the limelight all the time?
Well, I made that point earlier, that there are bigger things for him to do.
Let me tell you, so much criminal activity that take place in Trinidad. Real serious thing you do, see Gary Griffith. Why are you going to tamper with election people? Let them part the parade now. Go and look for them criminals
to
and
me,
all kind of thing.
That is an issue for community police to deal with. Community policing.
The PNM will have a motorcade, the UNC will have a motorcade, and I guess it by me here, MSG had a motorcade. I would tell anybody that is going a little too shallow, Mr. Griffith. Get with the program. Get them criminals. Thank you.
Thank you. 6367547 2275739. There are 150 candidates who have registered their name last Friday to contest the general election, and as I pointed out earlier, 20 represent 21 political parties. Some of them, I can't name all of them now, apart from the popular PNM, UNC, you have the Progressive Empowerment Party, the Trinidad Humanity Campaign Party. I'm seeing some new parties here I didn't hear about before, like the National Party, the Trinidad and Tobago Democratic Front. I'm seeing the Unrepresented People's Party with one candidate. The Nationwide Organization of We People, one candidate. Probably during the course of the week when I have Politics 2020, I will try and reach some of these parties that are carrying one candidate. What would be their chances? Would they be the ones with the bargaining power? You have the Independent Liberal Party with one person. The Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago, one person again. You have the Progressive Democratic Patriots, 2 persons. The National Coalition for Transformation, 2 persons. During the course of the week, I will try and get in contact with some of these parties and bring them on the air. Some of the marginal constituencies from the last general election are Moruga Tablan with 533 votes being the difference. Barataria Sawa, 540 votes being the difference. Chaguanas East with 1,424 votes being the difference. Let's hear this caller. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Ms. Ann. That's the part. That's on the Facebook and the real papers.
About the parties?
Yeah, among parties.
Yes, well, it's on the Guardian.
Guardian, all right, no problem.
But the number of differences with parties, I have that from the EBC, from the election results. The La Joqueta Talparo seat had a difference of 2,822 voters. Mayaro had a difference of 2,894 voters. Komoto Manzanilla, 3,179 voters. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Anne.
Yes, welcome.
And good morning to the listeners. And the COVID that they got, is it community spread or imported?
No, it is a person that came in from Grenada, I believe. From Grenada.
So that's imported?
Yes.
All right then. Okay, bye-bye.
We don't have any cases of community spread in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, last night I was listening to Dr. Jerry Brooks, the chairman from the recovery committee team, and he was indicating that Trinidad and Tobago, fortunately we do not have community spread. So that is in our favor. Just to answer your question, ma'am, the 3 positive COVID cases came from Grenada, 1 from the US, bringing the total to 137. Right? 3 TNT nationals had been resident in Grenada since March. They came into the country and they are the ones with it. 1 person from the United States of America. Dr. Brooks was speaking about the different curves that we would have had to face. The L curve would have been the worst. Right now, Trinidad and Tobago, we are on the V curve. If we had the L curve or the U curve, it means that we had community spread. We don't have that, according to Dr. Jerry Brooks. I will bring up that topic when Vade come into studio. 6367547 2275739. Continue to call me in. You can call me in if you have a concern about the general election coming up. Let me know if you are seeing your candidates in your area. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We are lucky so far that we don't have a spread of that virus, you know. And I hope the government do bend the pressure from other people to open border and all kind of stuff. So far, they're going good. And if that we start to get an upsurge here, I don't think we even have hospital beds for people. Neither ventilator and all that of stuff. So, Mr. Government, keep going as they're going and don't bend to people's pressure. Thank you.
Thank you. 6367547 2275739. We just missed 2 calls there. Call us back. Listener, you can call us back before we take a commercial break. Hello, good morning.
Morning, good lady.
Good morning, sir.
Calling from football.
Yes?
I do believe that we're not getting the right figures about this COVID business, and all of a sudden they say all is imported. I don't know, when they say imported, I know what is imported.
Well, persons coming into the country from abroad, they came with it.
Ma'am, that is a joke. That is a joke. Yes, another thing, I haven't seen my UNC, I don't know him.
Candidate?
Candidate.
Which area is this?
Supposed to be Caroni Central. And another thing is saying about, Gigi, I ain't saying he shouldn't worry about, but she shouldn't worry about that personally, that he should have the people, because he say TTP is doing a very good work. I understand that. You have good guys outside there. The 100 and something Veni that came in, and they catch about 8, and they say when they catch them, they're gonna lock them up, but they have the border in the wrong place. They're looking at the border in the wrong place. They're going on the shore. They're supposed to be in the halfway between here and Venezuela. They're doing this border business not proper, not right at all. So always have Veni coming in here for refugee. Yes, they're not in the right place.
Well, they're coming in droves through over the 150 ports that we have unmanned.
But, ma'am, they could do better than that. I'm telling you that. Because they had to take them up from here and carry them on Stokers Bay, quarantine them with the Trinidad funds, and then they're still coming in here. They're here in a big way.
Yes.
The government have to do something about these migrants and them. Otherwise, we got to find somewhere to go, you know.
Okay, let's take another call. Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Hi, I'd like to make another contribution. I think the borders should remain closed. But you see what's happening now? If that virus really comes here, it will come through those borders, and it will be done intentionally by someone who wants to sabotage our country. That is when national security should step up to the table. That is when you need leadership to say, we're not here just to follow United Nations standards on health and safety and CARICOM. They should be talking about protecting all of our people who are vulnerable to this disease. The ones who are abroad, it shows the weakness of our diplomatic relations. Our diplomatic leaders in other countries, they are not embracing our locals who are out there. You know, they're not giving them the support. You have to kind of figure out where these people, these are all things that make our country strong, you know. But then we have a government now that supports our country where Venezuelans, they come in with animals, they come in with all kinds of things. And like that to me could be a threat to our agriculture too. It could bring in more infestation to the crops people trying to plant. Maybe monkeys going into the forest could bring in germs and viruses. You know, we live in a time where knowledge is so important there, and the government closes, they turn their back on it. So I say those people who are abroad, you got to hang in there because we are very vulnerable. We don't have the infrastructure to support our poor people in this country. People wait hours just to go to the health center. And so we've got to be vigilant and work together. But we need a leader who will, you know, we don't have the virus yet, but right now this is what's going on in the health center. We're seeing some typhoid. We're seeing a lot of, maybe we have to do some more vector control, getting mosquitoes. We're seeing a lot of flea infestation. Because the infestation of fleas bring diseases like the Black Plague. You see, recklessness again. Recklessness and neglect. And now that Parliament is out, nobody could question anything.
Let's take another call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Anne. I think Miss Madras think the show is for she alone. Anyhow, let me make my contribution. I think Commissioner Gary Griffith is starting to look politically biased in his action. He's getting too involved in the election. He has a job to do with security. Why, since when do they have to get personal permission from him to have a motorcade? He also said they will have to tell him how much people in a motorcade. Is he from Mars? If you are having a motorcade, every area you pass into, people will join into the motorcade without even the people who's leading the motorcade even knowing. So I don't know if he's living in Mars. He's starting to look politically biased as a commissioner of police, and he has to be very careful of that.
Okay, thank you.
People are looking on. The people are looking on, Gary.
Listeners, let's take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have a special surprise for you in studio. U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio, 10 to 1 is the program.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canoopia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Kathy's School Sport Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liquor, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liquor, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's School Sport Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
Hello, I am Rajendra Ramprasad, your PNM candidate for Couva South. I ask for your support to take Couva South into government and to improve the quality of life for all of us. I have specific plans to create jobs, to improve agriculture, to revive Point Lisas, and to develop our infrastructure, also to enhance security. As a person born in Dow Village, California, and started my education at Esperanza Presbyterian School, I want to use my years as a successful businessman and a resident of Couva South to partner with you to make our communities better. I ask for your vote on August the 10th. Vote Rajendra Ramprasad, the right choice for a better Couva South. Vote PNM.
Puzzle lovers, rejoice! Your free 24-page Newsday puzzle book is now available twice a week, only in your Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. Now you really can look forward to staying home. Newsday, independent and credible.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This ad brought to you by the PNM.
All will be fine. Look, we made the right choice every time. Still a job to be done and a race to be won, and we know we will win every time. Just keep the faith, heads up high. We're together in this, you and I. Yes, the job will be done and the race will be won, and we know we will win every time. And we go vote for the love of we country. We go vote to protect the treasury. Vote is only Dr. Rowley. The right choice for TNT. PNM is the choice. PNM is the voice. PNM all the way on election day is the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the police. Hey.
On August 10th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
I have journeyed.
Greeted in the wonderful name of Jesus, my name is Bishop Kelvin Khan from Endurance Ministry International. Our new location is in Railway Road, Londonville. You can tune into 97.5 every Sunday morning from 6 a.m. till 8. Tell your nanny and your nana, Jesus is the answer.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Welcome back, listeners, and to all our viewers on U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper Multicultural Radio. I have in studio with me two very special guests, Mr. Ved Seeram, our in-house financial consultant, and I have Mr. David Walker all the way across from Tobago. David, good morning and welcome.
Good morning to you and all your listeners.
Good morning, Ved.
Good morning, Anne.
Thank you for joining me this morning. We have a lot of callers coming through here. We missed some of the calls there. Call us back 636-7547 if you wish to get into the program. Let's say hello to this caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Anne.
Yes, morning.
This is Triple D.
Yes, Mr. Triple D.
I had a good laugh this morning when I saw the papers. Saying Jack Lyon. I wonder who does Lyon know. I listened to Rajendra Dan Rampapad just now there in a clip. And he said, yes, that's his plan to create jobs. 4 years with government in power. What they have done with employment. I feel when Dr. Rowley is praying to the Almighty God, he will be lying too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, David, good morning. I hope you didn't have a hard time getting across here from Tobago.
No, it was fairly straightforward, and the journey, I came by boat, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Because of this COVID thing, I prefer the open deck on the boat rather than sitting in a plane for
crowded up.
Yeah, with AC unit and so on. So
Well-
my preference is boat, and I can say to everybody, the boat came down
It's
very
safe.
nicely. I am encouraging you all. Come and visit Tobago, since we can't travel to anywhere else right now.
I will have to take up that offer soon.
Enjoy Tobago.
If Mr. Rampasad Singh give me the time off. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Anante, Paulus, Good
morning.
Mr. Ram,
Yes,
with
sir.
the government running this country, you think it would be feasible for them to take the rest of the HSF fund and put it into Bitcoin? Now go on.
Put it into, what was the last point?
I
again?
didn't hear his
I
last
didn't make
point.
it out
He
either.
said
Something point?
with the HSF fund. Call us back, please. We
Call us
didn't
back on
quite
that,
get
yeah.
your point. Yes, David, we were speaking off air about election campaigning and whether or not election boosts the economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, with the way, as I was going to say we, but just about everybody around the world manage elections right now, it's always a big item of expenditure. So it will have some impact on economic activity. But given the COVID restrictions, so like all these people who rent out these big trucks and put up stages and so on, they're not going to get the kind of income this year that they normally get.
Let's take some callers here. We come back to that thought. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, your last caller was just being facetious. He said to put the rest of the HSS fund into Bitcoins. But I
Oh,
know Mr. Sierra
Bitcoins.
He wouldn't need that.
He wasn't serious, Eric.
Anyway, let me just say this to you, gentlemen. You know, someone made a very interesting point in a polling program recently. They said that they want to know how all of the money was spent by the government in the last 5 years, where the money went. They went on to say that the government had more money than the last government had. And you know something, Mr. Sierra? I believe the fellow had a very interesting point. I think we at the management of the economy, the way in which the dollar was spent between 2015 to 2020, and juxtapose it to the way in which it was spent between 2010 to 2015. I think that is very important in us making a decision as to how we vote today. I'll listen to your comments.
Okay.
No, well, that's a fair comparison, and to list it out. We also must recognize that oil prices sunk badly over the last 5 years on two major occasions. So that has to factor into the equation as well as we had actually negative pricing for oil for a short period of time. So I think the global economy, the global oil prices impacted very negatively on us. The question is that and this is a question I would ask, what has government, this one, previous one, and even the previous one to that, quite frankly, we could go back 40 years, what have they done to really diversify the economy and create an alternative to oil and gas?
Let's
and
hear
I think
this
that's
caller.
the issue.
Oh, we lost that caller. Wait, continue.
Yeah, I think that is the major issue. We should not ignore the fact that oil prices really slumped, and at one point in time, revenues to government from oil was over $34 billion, and that fell below 5 at 1 year.
Let's hear this caller here. Just hold your thought. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Ms. Dookie.
Good morning.
And morning, Mr. Ken Ali, wherever you are. And morning to your guests in the studio.
David Walker and Wade Searam.
And Mr.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I thought Eric was going to tell us that the OPVs would have stopped the COVID-19 from coming in. The people with COVID-19 from coming in, but that's another topic. Gentlemen, I want to find out something. The Zimbabwe government said about 2 weeks ago that they have put a hold on mobile banking because they say mobile banking is undermining the economy. Your thoughts, please. Thanks.
Wade or David?
You want to take that or not?
I could not possibly concur with that point of view. I don't know on what basis they are suggesting that mobile banking is in any way to the detriment of the economy. Logic would suggest that it would be the opposite, that anything that facilitates banking transactions would make economic activity much easier, less costly, and quicker turnaround. So I am struggling to understand the basis for that argument.
Let's hear this caller. Oh, we lost you. 636-7547, 227-5739. Hello, good morning.
Morning again, Miss Ann. Miss Ann, this last finance minister here, Mr. Imbush, has failed in every one of his projections for the budget. Every year he has failed, he's come up short. And he has done nothing at all to turn this economy around. Furthermore, people are losing their jobs, and the government has no plan, no policy regarding the emergence of that. Before this COVID, people were losing their jobs. After this COVID, it's going to get worse. And if they come back in the power, it's going to get even more worse. Have a good day.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to 10 to 1.
Good morning. Two good guests in the studio there.
Yes, two powerful men.
Now, I have a question. How far away are we from the IMF? I believe that we are on the doorstep of the IMF already. And the election may have been called early because of it. So I don't know. I'm not a financial expert. So let me hear from you, gentlemen. Thank you.
I concur with the gentleman. I don't think we are that far from the IMF, because if you look at the fundamentals, as people like to talk about, we were in a desperate, a difficult situation even before COVID. So you layer COVID on top of that, the impact on the economy in relation to reduced revenues and so on, and also the impact indirectly by people not being able to go to work, transactions not taking place as they normally would. Given the starting point where we were struggling already, I am of the view that if we do not get our house in order within the next 2 years, then it is inevitable that we're going to end up in the hands of the IMF, made worse by the fact that we are borrowing extremely large amounts of money with no indication of how are we going to service those debts that we are accumulating. I am very worried.
We have a number of callers coming in, but we have to take a break at the top of the hour. Callers, you can call back just after the 11 a.m. hour. Okay, we'll be right back after the short commercial.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 97.5 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
Puzzle lovers, rejoice! Your free 24-page Newsday puzzle book is now available twice a week, only in your Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. Now you really can look forward to staying home. Newsday, independent and credible.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This ad brought to you by the PNM.
Sign my name with a golden pen, a golden pen. Sign my name, yeah. Anyway, we vote in PNM. Sign my name, it's a PNM pen, a PNM pen. I want you to sign my name, it's a PNM pen. We vote in PNM.
On August 10th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Welcome back to 10 to 1 on U975 FM. We are also streaming live on YouTube on RCL U975. You can catch us there or on the traditional radio band of 975 FM. Let's get back to the calls. Hello, good morning, and welcome to 10 to 1.
Good morning, Mr. Walker. Good to hear your voice on a different frequency. Custom here in your 104.
Yes, good day to you. Two very good stations.
Right. And to Mr. Siram.
Yes, sir.
Also on the same 104. Right. Now, we talking finance and economics.
Yes.
Yesterday on another frequency, they were discussing same thing, finances, and the host was telling the gentleman that he is biased when he is asking about expenditure of this government. He says it's saying ask Kamala. But I have a problem with that, because Kamala was 2010 to 2015 we acknowledge there were allegations of mismanagement, misappropriation, misspending, all alleged, nothing proven. But isn't it fair to ask Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and his present government, how did they spend our $320 billion in the last 5 years? I want to hear your opinion on that.
Okay, listen, Ofe.
Well, that is a requirement, and I think with regards to the national budget, we ought to go through expenditure in detail, how the monies were spent, and I think it's a failing of the format of the national budget that has generated the predicament that you're talking about. So we as a nation, we have to be very clear, and let us approve a format on which the national budget should be presented. And then such a question would not arise, because we would get the answers to all of it. Now, in all fairness to the government, they do produce, in terms of the budget going forward, they produce a document showing how they expect to raise money and spend money. So the details are there, but it is not articulated during the budget debate by all the parliamentarians, and therefore that remains sort of a mystery to us. Whatever the failings of the national budget, it does not cover what transpired in the previous year. But they will go on to say, look, we expect revenues of X amount in the coming years, and we expect the expenditure in certain amounts and how it's allocated. What is missing, just to repeat, is an account for the previous year, how monies came in, how monies were spent, and what was and this is what you call a variance analysis to the original budget. So those elements are missing from our national budget, and whether we enshrine it in law as to how to present. Otherwise, I don't know if you noticed in the last 6 months review, that was the shortest presentation I've ever seen in my life. They just said we need X amount of money, and that's about it, without accounting for anything.
I would add to that a very specific area that has concerned me for some time, which is the broader issue of accountability and openness and transparency. We have situations here, and I could give you examples from this last government. There were examples in the previous government as well, where you spend all this time debating things in Parliament, and you believe, right, this is how we're going to spend money for the current year. And the Prime Minister goes off to a conference in Australia and comes back saying he's bought 2 boats. That is not accountability. We don't even know what the specifications of those boats are. I would like to see a change whereby such a purchase should not be possible without it first going through whatever is the normal procurement process. You can't spend.
But do we have procurement? Do we have procurement in Trinidad?
Well, we have the legislation. It's not really been
implemented.
It's not applied. To use the word they like to bandy about, it's not been operationalized. So it's on the books.
A big word.
It's on the books, but it's not yet giving us any benefits.
Let's hear this caller. David, just hold your thoughts for a second. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I was calling to really and truly to speak to David's issue. For someone as articulate as himself and as erudite as himself, I'm really and truly taken aback by the statement that he just made, that the Prime Minister went to Australia to a conference and just buy 2 boats. That was never the case. When the Prime Minister left here, he left here with the intention of searching for a boat for the Tobago route. That they left here with that intention. Further, you will remember it was under the UNC that Ms. Kamla Prasad-Bissessar told the nation that crime was not taking place on sea, it was taking place on land. Manning Dotish, and she sent back the 3 OPVs, leaving us naked on the high seas. The Prime Minister went cap in hand to the Prime Minister of Australia. He got a loan from the Australian government in order to purchase 2 Cape-class vessels. Having done that, the Coast Guard commander himself led a team to Australia where they ensured that the specifications of the boat were in keeping with what they wanted. So how come it is that you didn't monitor that, David? I find it strange.
I can't comment on the Coast Guard situation, but I can certainly comment on the situation with the ferries. To this day, and this is what, maybe 2 years since that transaction,
Yes,
and
it
in
was in
spite of
2017.
freedom of information requests on my part, we are yet to find out anything about the boats. I don't know if it's 100 feet long, 500 feet long, how many passengers it will carry. I don't have an official response.
Who was the mechanical engineer there to determine what type of boat the Prime Minister
Besides
had?
which, I want to go a little deeper than that. We have to get away from this situation where despite what the gentleman has said, it does not follow proper procurement processes. We have to get to a point where we value proper procurement processes, which would mean that we would do a needs analysis that would have told you how big the boat has got to be, how it's supposed to perform, and so on. And we must have feasibility studies and projections.
Let's hear this caller. Hello, good morning.
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 David. Morning, David.
Good morning.
I remember this discussion playing with Mr. Amar, and it stops right where you begin with that same fellow we called it. They have no report first to tell with the National Security Minister. I think David went with the Prime Minister, and none of them knows nothing about boat. They went there to Austria or something, so David?
That's right.
And they say that the boat is, Austria is building the boat in Sydney. The boat, people get to find out they're building in Vietnam.
No, I don't mind if somebody who is not, the top-class expert in boat building buys a boat, But at the very least, let us have a specification. When you go there as a non-expert to purchase, at the very least, walk with a specification to persuade us, the population who are paying for it, that what we're buying is what we actually want and which will serve the purpose for which we are acquiring it.
Not only persuade us, David, but you have to tell us it's our money you're going there to spend. And up to now, that Seabridge still wanting to vote because it is done. And before, the same caller and talking about the last government, blame the last government for money because this government spent 300-something billion and can account for it. You know what this man and people are doing, David? He could blame Kamala for Ken Julian, and Malcolm Jones, he's a fella could do that, blame Kamala for Malcolm Jones and Ken Julian, and he could blame them for the Austria thing,
You see,
they see them fellas and them all you want to blame somebody for the wrongdoings, come out shining and continue to rule. That's all they care about.
We, the population, need to drive the politicians away from that. I am fed up of hearing the left hand blaming the right hand and the right hand blaming the left hand.
That's right. Chicken and the egg
waste of time.
scenario.
What I want is that we follow proper procedures.
If
I don't
Kamala
care who's
is
there, follow proper procedures.
That's right. If Kamala is there for 5 years, let you report for what that 5 years. You, since 2015 here to 2020, you report on this. Forget Kamala. You tell me what to do with our money. Have a nice day, gentlemen.
Let's take another call here, David, before you continue.
Sure.
Hello, good morning.
Luki, good morning. And good morning to the gentleman there.
Yes.
Good morning.
Let's see, because this man is to be on Robert Station. So let's see if we can have a discussion this morning. On truth. I have a lady said to us, blank or black. Could any one of you tell me what you heard the lady say, please?
Okay, let's take another call before you answer, David. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, morning. No, Mr. Eric said the Prime Minister went to see the boat. How he ended up purchasing, seeing and purchasing is two different things. And as for the Cape class vessel that he is speaking of, I am almost certain that we have some boats down in Stubbles Bay parked up for no proper reason that are far more capable than the boats that they are buying and are better designed for our waters than the ones they are buying. Any expert who knows about boats will tell you that. And listen, I don't see a problem with black or blank because the whole of Trinidad was supporting Black Lives Matter. And there are no white people in Trinidad, no blue people, no green people. Everybody in Trinidad is black.
Okay, caller. Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Yes, I do. Yes, you cut more just now. So
We have to give a chance to everyone. We have a lot of calls coming in. Make your point quickly.
Yeah, so let me see if I can. Now, I remember the Prime Minister say when he went to Australia, two of the Coast Guard gentlemen went along with this vessel. And this argument about who purchasing the vessel, what qualification they have to purchase the vessel. This is the same argument we had when we was purchasing the Damian vessels. The same janja they give we. And Venezuela has the same. And today, we talk about Venezuelan migrants. If we had the same vessel, we would have been stopping the Venezuelan migrants. So this janja they come in with, we had that 5 years ago. So the gentleman there with you, we don't want to hear that again. We want solution to the problem. And the solution to the problem is the vessel. So we buy 2 new boats.
Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well. Make your point quickly.
After you're discussing about the boat this morning, with respect to the purchasing and so on.
Yes, sir.
We have had
Harry,
experience.
this is Harry,
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Ragunanan. Yes, good morning.
Good morning. We have had experience here with 2 factories, the Spirit and the Express, which were in-cab vessels, and they served us very well. I mean, the only problem was after the government fired Bay Ferries, then everything started up. I told them it was going to happen, and it did. They didn't have anybody to service the boat, and the boats were destroyed completely. However, with the experience with the in-cab vessels, they've gone to Australia to buy vessels. Why didn't we not buy in-cab vessels only? They went and ordered hostile vessels. Now we have 12 hostile vessels here that have failed. One never even sailed since they bought it. And they've gone to buy a vessel that has a very, very bad record in the factories across the world. People who have bought hostels have all passed them up, sold them, and have gone to in-cab. Yet we choose to go and buy a hostel vessel. Added to that, this vessel is being made in Vietnam, and it was the first such vessel that had been made there. So it's a kind of...
It's an experiment.
Yeah. And now we heard that the boat was going to come about mid-year, which is mid-June.
Mm-hmm.
They have no word on when the boat will arrive, but they wanted it to come before the election, and my information is that one will come later in the year and one will come sometime next year. And I can guarantee you that hostel vessel will not be suitable for this journey, and we will lose billions of dollars. Added to that, I don't know what kind of service arrangement is put in place. We heard nothing of that. And if that is not done, then the same thing that happened with Spirit and the Express will happen all over again. But those are high-tech vessels and need to get proper engineers to look after them. Do you know that Bay Ferries have never missed a sailing for the 11 years or so that they were here? Except for when there was the hurricane, and they were told that they shouldn't travel. But they never missed a sailing. And they never missed their scheduled dry docking, because they insisted on that.
We got value for money then.
Of course we got value for money. When they sent them away because they said they were expensive, what they tried, of course, it priced as much. And it failed miserably, and we lost 2 good boats. But let us see.
Yes, thanks for calling, Harry.
Okay.
That's Harry Ragunanan, maritime expert.
I just want
Let's have your comments.
I just want to raise a point David mentioned, is that I think we should have a law that no Prime Minister or any of his cabinet has the power to make decisions to purchase anything. And we should have a committee now set up, a purchasing committee, and depending on the item being purchased, it will be staffed accordingly to the bodies of experts, and they have to stamp the approval. No Prime Minister, and this has happened before as well, is that a Prime Minister goes abroad, you are entertained, you're engaged, you see all kinds of fancy things, they put on the bright lights, the vendors put on the bright lights, you get rather confused and you make a decision right there and then. And I think that is very wrong, because it's going to cost this country a tremendous amount of money that we do not have. And we should put it in law, enshrine it in law, that the Prime Minister and his cabinet members do not have have the authority
Purchasing
to
power.
They don't have it. It must be subject to A, B, and C.
In fact, that is what the procedure is meant to be. We have followed the British system of governance, the parliament and cabinet and so on. And cabinet is, in theory, not an executive decision-making body. It's a policy-making body, in theory. Exemptions are given by way of what are called cabinet notes. So it's through a cabinet note that you can make an executive decision through cabinet. Otherwise, cabinet of its own volition normally cannot make
don't
such
have that
decisions.
power.
In the United Kingdom, at my last checking, in an entire year, they made less than 15 decisions by that means. It is an exception. We make 15 every time our cabinet sits down. So in other words, what we've done is we've plagiarized the system, we've abused the system. It's not that the system was designed
we have
this way.
overruled it.
We've taken it and used the exception as the norm. So we could make a start without even changing the law by having our parties agree that cabinet notes are to be the exception as they were always intended to be. It must be for something absolutely pressing reason and something that they feel or they can justify can only be decided by cabinet rather than people working.
Let's hear this caller, David, before you continue. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, so we have the norm now of cabinet deciding what planes to buy, what, boats, etc. That is not the role of cabinet.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to 10 to 1.
Morning. Listen, I agree with the gentleman, but it shouldn't be so that alone. It should be an election year because I find too much of condominium taking place right now with no accountability. And the taxpayers that you want to go to have to see this music want it 11th of August. How about it?
Thank you. Well, this is the point David is making, that whether it is an election year or not, cabinet don't have that power to make those purchases.
Shouldn't be. We have the systems in place. So we should be allowing the persons who are appointed to those positions. And there's something else, but there's a change I would like to see concurrent with that, which is that if that is done effectively, it means that you're going to have senior executives, people in the public service who are making these important decisions.
Yes.
I would like to see something like the American system where people are vetted publicly before they hold those positions. So these purchasing people would
They are
have
supposed to
sit
be independent.
but they would sit and be questioned by Parliament or a subcommittee of Parliament before they could hold those positions.
Let's hear this caller. Good morning. Hello, caller.
Please hang up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing is a more general comment I want to make. There seems to be an awful lot of people, especially in government, who have an aversion to proper feasibility studies and plans and so on. You always hear this issue, well, we have a problem, let's just fix it. And it always ends up in trouble.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question. Are you all aware of a department in England that normally supply things to in the independent countries, that they call them the crown agents? Are you all aware of that, of those people?
I am. I'm also aware of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Those are the two major agencies dealing with people like us, yes.
Right, they supply, right?
Yeah.
How come we don't use that?
Well, partly because we, as an independent nation, really, that's what we fought for. We fought for the ability to make those decisions for ourselves. But by all means, we could benefit from assistance and guidance from the agencies that you and I have just spoken about.
That's
we shouldn't
right.
turn our back on them just because we're independent.
That's right. They supply, or they put you in touch with people who will give you the best price.
Yeah.
But right now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry Lal want to supply. There are people here who pose in as this expert and that expert, and all they are just brokers. And they have the heirs of the government. Now, a certain thing has happened and they wouldn't come. What somebody they wouldn't think the purchasing thing, what they call it, and it is left to the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, or whoever it is. We have a Minister of National Security went to get boats, and he don't know the bow from the stern of a boat. So what we're dealing with, and I think the Prime Minister did the same thing too. So we need to purge yourself from this kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
You see, even if you happen to have somebody in cabinet who's an expert in the area, it still should not go through. So that shouldn't even be an issue. We should have a proper
independent body.
That's right. And they would hire whatever expertise they need to get on board for every particular decision that they're making. It should not be the members of cabinet. It should not be the political people making these decisions as a matter of routine.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to 10 to 1.
Morning, Anne, and morning to your two guests.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, I understand fully well that what you were saying, but in my little opinion, or my little things around politics, since I'm growing up, you see when PNM win, the money belongs to them. When UNC win, the money belongs to them. They don't account for anybody now. If it's at 33.3, and then they change that kind of thing that you all talking about, and one have 29, and they change it, I want you to tell me if money belongs to them when they win the election. Yes.
Thank you, Paula.
Yeah, I think this is precisely what we're discussing, and we say that is wrong and it has to be changed. Now, this is my feeling. An educated population who would not tolerate it and keep pounding on the door to say that must change. I think you can bring about changes that way. You tell the politicians that is not acceptable by way of writing, by way of speaking out, by way of even calling on the politicians that look, please stop it immediately. And I think this is the level of awareness we need to build in society, that society now can actually, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago can actually make their voices be heard, because I think that was long-time politics and we cannot afford it anymore.
Let's hear this caller, Wade. Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning again. Mr. Siram?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain something to me? If you're going for a loan in a bank, you have to have some kind of collateral, right? Like a house, land, something like that, right?
Yes.
Before they give you the money.
Yes.
But we in Trinidad and Tobago cut off our lifeblood this year, closed down Petrotrin. Now we owe in this country is owing over $120-something billion. How come these lending agencies lending us so much money so quick?
Well,
I'll listen off here.
That's what I'm saying all along, and I kept saying that the banks once they're lending to individuals and corporations, they're very careful. Once they're lending to the governments, they are guided by this silly debt to GDP ratio, and they say, okay, 60% not bad, we lend you more. And they become very reckless when they are lending to governments. They assume it is zero risk, and that is not the case. They all classify governments as zero risk, and they continue to lend, and it reaches a point, as in the case of Greece is a good example, where the commercial banks now, that they overlent to Greece, Greece could not pay them back, so they twisted Greece's arm through Brussels, and that is how the government, the EU government, really actually gave Greece the money to pay back the commercial banks, and that's how it works.
Let's hear this caller, Wade. Hello, good morning.
That is why the European Union today couldn't come to a decision on how they're going to fund the recovery of COVID. That's all.
That is correct. That is correct.
Sit down yesterday and couldn't come up with a plan whether or not we're going to fund this thing or how we're going to do it. But according to the last caller, and what all the point is, we vote in a government with 29 seats and tell us about the same thing about the OPVs. But the same Prime Minister who tells us the same thing went and bought some, what they call it, Damian vessels in China the same way. So after giving us 29 seats, did it change anything?
Yeah, caller, I don't have a problem what you're saying, and two wrongs never make a right, and that's the problem that people argue. You did it too, therefore I'm okay, etc. So we, at some point, it has to stop, and I'll tell you, the major difference between then and now is that government is bankrupt at the moment. Not only the government, but the country is bankrupt as well. So we have to start thinking about survival, and we cannot tolerate the kind of expenditure that took place before without proper procedure and without proper authorization.
And it's not just the amount of money we're spending, it's how we use it. I keep coming back to this issue of feasibility study and proper planning, proper monitoring, as you say, the variance analysis as you're going on, the project assessment as you're going along, and so on. If we were doing that, it would have been well nigh impossible to get to the point where you spend $12 billion at Petrotrin and only then realize that it's a waste of money. How do you get to that amount of expenditure without doing your annual reviews and, assessing what you've achieved against what you had planned to achieve to the point of $12 billion? Look at the Brian Lara Stadium. Budgeted at $300 million or thereabouts. And they're now boasting that they've completed it at $1.3 billion. We cannot afford to go on with projects like this. And if we use the same methods of procurement that we've been using all along, then we will just perpetuate that type of wastage.
Hello, good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning again, Anne and gentlemen. Mr. Siram,
yes.
Would you care to enlighten this public as to how much money it costs annually to pay 80,000 public servants? What is our true recurrent expenditure bill? How much money does the government really and truly have for investment after it satisfies all of those necessary mouths, for want of a better term? And at the end of the day, we have to come to a realization in this country and in other countries too, that you really and truly don't need a public service of 80,000 people to service 1.5 million people. And those minds that are in the public service are better served in the private sector, being innovative, creative, coming up with new ideas and new economies of scale. And listen to your comments, Mr. Fior.
Well, I want to just interject very, very briefly so that you all will have some sympathy for me. If you think things are bad here, look at the situation in Tobago with the percentage of the population employed by the government.
60%.
Over to you, Ved.
Well, it's 70% in Tobago.
70%?
Yeah, of the workforce in Tobago.
It have increased since we
and-
last
and-
spoke,
and
David.
The remaining 30% depends on that 70%. So Tobago
So it's 100%.
Tobago is not a tourist industry, tourist country as we would
There's
like
a
to believe.
THA industry.
Yeah.
It's a THA industry.
So you raise a very important point, and this is where, in terms of presentation of the government, is extremely important for the budget. For example, I would prefer them tell us exactly this question: how much money, instead of saying we allocate so much for housing, so much for Ministry of Health, so much for the Ministry of Education, etc., security and so on, is to, that's fine, you can present that allocation, but at the end of the day, tell us how much you're spending on employee costs. Tell us how much of those are permanent employees, how many are temporary. Tell us how much you are spending on consultants, because there's a tremendous amount of consultancy fees that are paid by government. Tell us how much you are paying on what you call pensions, because that's a huge cost to government. Government does not have an investment that is generating the kinds of returns to pay pensions. They pay it out of recurrent revenues. So I agree with you fully. And if it's 80,000, I heard the Prime Minister said that if the UNC come in, they might have to get rid of 80,000. So it would mean to say they can't leave the public sector bereft of any employee. So the employment may be way beyond the 80,000 that you spoke about. And you're so correct. I don't have the exact figures, but I think it's available. You have to dig into the document, the budget document, and then start reallocating. I said that reallocation should be done at the time of presenting the budget to say exactly how we are spending the money.
Let's take this call here, Ved. Hello, good morning.
Good morning again. I wanted to ask Mr. Piran if he foresees any cuts, any subsidies and transfers in this country regarding the pensions and all the other subsidies that the state provides in the upcoming budget? Thank you.
Sorry, if I see a reduction
in transfers
in
and
transfers,
subsidies.
absolutely, that the government has to do it, but they're delaying it. That should have started occurring, I would say, about 10, 12 years ago. But they're delaying that problem, kicking the can down the road. But it's coming to a head now, and the only reason why they did not do it is because reckless banks, including the IDB is just financing X amount for urban development at this stage where survival has to be the immediate objective. So they have been borrowing money, they have been selling assets, they've virtually run out of assets to sell. They have a few still, such as FCB and so on. But by and large, at the end of the day, they have to start cutting subsidy, and that is where I raised this point about 5 years ago, because subsidies, we do not appreciate that we are paying for electricity 1/5 of the world prices of the regional price, At 5 US cents per kilowatt hour, Guyana has been paying about 35 to 37 US cents per kilowatt hour. Barbados about 20 something, 25 or 28 cents. So I'm saying our electricity has been highly subsidized. You could imagine that government says, look, we have to pay the market rates now. What's going to happen to us?
Wait, let's just hear this caller. Good morning.
So therefore, Mr. Wade, a lady telling me that she coming back and give me a baby grant and come back and give me laptops and promise me all these goodies is impossible, sir.
What?
That way,
Yeah.
Yes, because that can't make sense if we look at the state of the economy.
No, listen. Let's say there's a change in government. The first thing you do as a change in government, you have to look at what is the status of your finance,
Exactly.
You have to look at what is the status of finance. Now, if the opposition at the moment is making certain assumptions if they are listening to the current Minister of Finance who says, look, we are on sound footing, etc., I think that will be a big mistake. But let us wait and see. In the event there's a change, they have to look at the finances and say, my goodness, there's nothing in the kitty except snakes.
Well, they told us that the first time they got into office.
Yeah.
And now we're in a worse position. But they tell me they promised me 50,000 new jobs. But yeah, they also told me the same thing you're saying technically, that we're going to make WhatsApp privatized. We're going to privatize TNTech. And if we privatize all these institutions, then we're going to get a rate increase, because I can't invest my money into an institution that keeps losing. And then a lot of these people will go home. Not so. So then what the government would consider employed by the government, now you'll be employed 49% by so and so and 51% by so and so. Just like what happened to TSTT. Should we go there and wake up now, please?
Let's hear this caller before you answer, Wade. Hello, good morning.
I am asking myself, you hear politicians when they get into power that they spend 60 billion, 40 billion, 100 billion and all these other things. Not one of them, since I know myself, I'm 72 years of age, and that ever give an account of how the money is being spent before they leave into parliament. I think that before Mr. Rowley leave as this Prime Minister of this country, 6 months before, he should have been in a position to tell the country how much money he spent, how much money he leave in the account, how much money he don't leave. Because remember when he went in there the last time, he said it only had money for 2 months or something. And look, he have sent that how much money he have spent in this country, how much money he have borrowed and all. Politicians do not give an account. If I work in any department and I fail to give an account of the money, the police come in for me, Guy Griffith and his boys come in for me. Why it is that the police and them do not get in on the government and see to it that if they spend the taxpayers' money, which is part of the police money too, and fail to give an account, and do the right thing. But that would never happen in this country, because all the politicians in this country, there's only bravo during election time and bad talk one another, and after that, next 2 weeks after election done, all of them drinking and liming and sweating together. The politicians in this country really hardly care about the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They care about their friends, their finances, and everybody. Generally, all of them are the same. I thank you ever so much because...
David, any comments?
We have this problem with accountability, and we talk about it from several different directions. One of the directions that I think we need to look at is the infrastructure that's needed to account and to report properly. Since somewhere around 2000, so we're talking about 20 years, a decision was made to implement a system called IFMIS, the Integrated Financial Management Information System.
IFMIS?
Yes, IFMIS, Integrated Financial Management Information System, that was supposed to cover all of government finances and provide the kinds of reports that your callers have been talking about. We spent a fortune, first of all through PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I don't know if they are still the consultants on it, but they were the consultants at the start. I know about it because I was still practicing in the UK at the time. I was here on holiday, met up with an old friend, Ainsley Mark, who was the head of Panelco Foster, and he was on the committee. So he talked to me about it. It has still not been implemented to this date. Still not. You still get ministers and so on talking about, well, as soon as IFMIS is in,
yes,
we will have access to all that information. They're still talking about that as if the 20 years that have gone by didn't exist.
It didn't exist.
As if they suddenly discovered that IFMIS is going to solve that problem.
Let's take
but IFMIS is part of the solution. You need the infrastructure.
Okay, just hold your thought there, David. Hello, good morning.
Good morning again, Anne. Mr. Siram and Mr. Walker, this government came into office saying that they only had money for 3 days. The central bank governor told the finance minister, we only have money for 3 days. The last government thieved out all the money. They met $11 billion in foreign reserves, $6 billion in stabilization funds, right? The prime minister said, this is the prime minister's word, you know, we have $300 million in local banks. The minister of finance told the country that all the ministries have hundreds of millions in their bank account. Time ran out and they couldn't spend it. He said the Ministry of Sport, for example, had $500 million, and we use $150 million to buy ribbon to open the aquatic center, the cycling velodrome, and the tennis and racket center. If you have no money, as they said, was it necessary, Mr. Walker and Mr. Siram, to spend $50 million to refurbish Whitehall, to complete your book from Mason Hall to Whitehall, to spend millions on Stallmeyer Castle and on Millflare, to spend $89 million on the President's House, to spend $3 million on Casabon painting, $2 million on the Benz, $3 million for golf course in Tobago, $3 million for golf course in Chaguaramas, $3 million for golf course in Chaguanas. Was it necessary to spend all that money on projects that are of no consequence, rather than spend the money on the laptops or spend it on school feeding and things that will benefit the people? Up to you. Over to you.
Let's hear this other caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And you have two high-powered fancy experts in the studio there.
Yes.
And these people are guiding us on accountability. And you have people calling and diverting this conversation every which way how from where we should be learning from these gentlemen in the studio. Let us go back to 1976 when the then Prime Minister said, I ain't want no jackass when I talk. Nobody could tell me what to do this country, and fire the Governor General because there's too much oversight. And put a president who dictate too. And everything went haywire from then. Let's talk about that and let these gentlemen tell us what we should be demanding from the politicians today to have accountability. And cut off this stupidness we're coming to divert this conversation this morning. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Let me address both the callers, if I may. And I just want to re-emphasize what David has been saying. And with regards to all capital expenditure, there must be a rationalization document that you can put forward. Now, you cannot monetize all the benefits, but definitely in terms of what is the cost-benefit analysis of investing in each of these expenditure. And then you have to say, in terms of priority, is that the most important thing to do at this point in time? I keep emphasizing that because of the reckless banks that are lending to government, that has fueled the difficulty that we are finding ourselves in. They're very, very reckless when lending to government. Tomorrow, one of the reasons that the government has eased up the reserve requirement of the banks via the central bank was to put more liquidity in the system, local system. Now, the private sector is not borrowing again. They're not making any investment. So that 10 billion or so more that has come into the system is government intend to borrow more by way of bonds. So we have to be very, very careful and set some very rigid limits with regards to government borrowing. And the debt to GDP is not an appropriate benchmark to determine how much the governments can borrow. What is more important is your debt service ratios, and that should be enshrined that they should not exceed. If they cannot service your interest, then your borrowing limit, you can no longer borrow any money. So we need to look at some other benchmarks to determine the borrowing capacity of government. For example, again, they use a benchmark of 3% deficit of GDP to determine how much deficit a government can run every year. And that in itself is another major disaster, because 3% of GDP, 3%, so they're saying you can run a deficit of around $4 to $5 billion, and that's fine. And that is not fine, because if you borrow more to run that deficit and you cannot pay back even the interest, then you're way beyond the limit. So we have to be very careful, and just David has been mentioning it, and so myself, is that there must be a criteria for making these investments.
We have a number of callers coming through, but we have to take a short commercial break, gentlemen, and we will be right back. Callers, you can continue to call us in on 636-7547, 227-5739. WhatsApp us on 378-4975 if you cannot get through. After this commercial break, we will be right back.
In Mayaro, we specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liquor, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liquor, wholesale, and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays, for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited of number 86 Pearville, Mayaro, where our friendly staff will be happy to serve you.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Puzzle lovers, rejoice! Your free 24-page Newsday puzzle book is now available twice a week, only in your Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. Now you really can look forward to staying home. Newsday, independent and credible.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This ad brought to you by the PNM.
PNM is the choice, PNM is the voice, PNM all the way on election day is the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the police, hey.
On August 10th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Minutes before the top of the hour, Veda, I see the lines are ringing off the hook. Let's take some callers here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I'm calling again. I only if anybody knows you too much. And I'd like to say good morning to Mr. Kennedy. May God bless him wherever he is. First, I would say, what the Auditor General really do in this country? Look at the backlog of audit that they have. I think any government getting forward, they should appoint more auditors to deal with the Auditor General Department and see to it that before the politicians leave their status in every 5 years, that the country is up to date with all the accounts. My next point is, how much money we got for Petrotrin? I heard the Prime Minister says that he wants Mr. Roger to come and sign on the dotted line. Sign for what? Do we have any account? Do anybody know how much money the Oilfield Workers Trade Union pay the people of Trinidad and Tobago for Petrotrin? Up to today, I don't know. I probably may be deaf. I don't know, I haven't heard it. And are we giving it to them free? Because they already get $18 million free a long time ago. Are they getting this free at a back pay for it? We would like to know. The callers, them would, let's be fair across the board. Whether you support UNC, PNM, now or NJAC, we must be fair. Because when we go to the hospital and we fail to get medicine, it's because we are blind loyal to the party. We must never be blind loyal to no party. We must be blind loyal to our mother and father. I thank you ever so much.
I really want to deal with this, the two issues this caller has raised, two very, very important issues. The first is that of the Auditor General. I am of the totally opposite opinion to this gentleman with respect to the Auditor General. The Auditor General is one of the few agencies that is there to act as a gatekeeper in the system that is actually functioning. One of the reasons we could talk about it is because the Auditor General has produced reports about so many of the agencies. Now, the Auditor General can only function on the basis of the documents and the explanations that are provided by each agency. If, as in the case of the THA, for example, they simply fail to provide the documents or provide documents that don't match up with what is being presented in the accounts, then there is nothing the Auditor General can do other than to report on said situation, which is what they have been doing. So, in my view, what is needed is a follow-up to the Auditor General's annual report. So there must be some other agency that takes up the reporting of the failures of these state agencies and then runs with it and does what is necessary. Whether it's a human resource issue, whether it's something to do with fraud or whatever, the problem for me with the Auditor General's work is that there is no follow-through on the magnificent reports they have been producing down the years. So that's where I would like to see a change with respect to the Auditor General's work. The gentleman talked about Petrotrin, and I want to make a point which is going to be the subject of an article I've just written, which is going to be coming out in this coming week. I submitted a Freedom of Information request to the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, who presumably are the ones who would have been in charge of the Petrotrin breakup. Logic would tell you so. So I submitted a request for a number of bits of information. Most notably, I asked for the latest audited statements for Petrotrin before it was broken up. And I also asked for the reconciliation between the three new companies and what was there. Remember, Petrotrin was a $51 billion asset company. $51 billion, that's roughly equivalent to our national budget. So you're splitting this thing up into three companies. So I have asked simply for the reconciliation with what you have in the three back to the 51. The Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, in a written reply to me, has said they have not done any such reconciliation. So you've handed somebody $51 billion. Say, split that up between those three recipients, and you turn your back and walk away. And don't even check to see whether the total of what's in those three is equal to 40, 50, 30, or whatever. So I'm now writing to Corporation Seoul, because ultimately Corporation Seoul is responsible for all state enterprises, to see whether Corporation Seoul actually checked on where our $51 billion has gone. So as much as I am also concerned about the passage of the refinery to OWTU, I am very, very concerned about how that $51 billion was split between
was
the
distributed. Let's hear this caller, David. Hello, good morning.
Yes, Anne. It's very good what Mr. Walker is saying. The point about I was driving just now. As long you are the government, they feel everything belongs to them. They have to explain nothing to you. All you must do is go out and vote for them. That is all. And another point is that if I'm a minister, they give me $250 million to run for the year, September budget, I should be explaining to you or the Prime Minister, who is my boss, I should be explaining to the Prime Minister, you see those sheets? This is how I spend the $250 million with all tenders, all salary, all this, all that. And here you could go and check and see. So I go be out in the clear. When the Auditor General pick the book, I must be out of that also. And that is basically the simple thing that all of them know they could thief, all of them know they could go into the corruption, all of them know they could do anything they want. They have nothing to ask about. Until that will change, we're going to continue going on our way.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning again, Anne. Good
Yes,
morning.
Eric.
Mr. Siram,
Yes,
I just heard you say you almost you committed heresy. You said that more than 12 years ago they were supposed to stop removing they were supposed to start removing subsidies. Did you not hear that in this country we were subsidizing a rich man to drive down to Maracas and eat bacon chop with free diesel? And because the minister removed it, everybody vexed. They believe that when the next government come into power, we will go to the pump and, like Venezuela, pay 5 cents a litre for gas. They don't want no subsidy removed in this country, Mr. Siram. You think that is possible? As far as they are concerned, when Ms. Kamala Prasad Biswas come into power, corporation tax will be cut in half. Not only that, there will be no property tax, there will be no efficient means of collecting tax in this country, and the country going to run well. That is what they believe. And you talking of removing subsidy? So listen, you living in a different state, Mr. Siram. Have a nice morning.
Well, let me explain to you. The situation is such that government cannot continue with a $20 billion deficit for the year. And it's as simple as that. First of all, they're miscalculating, underreporting the deficit. Every time they report a deficit in the budget, they said that is net off capital repayment and sinking fund contribution. And nobody in the House, lower house or upper house, has asked, can you please explain what is the true nature of the deficit every year? And you cannot hide from the figures, but because at the end of the day, it shows up now in the level of debt borrowings that we have, in addition to that, which you have to add what assets they have sold. So you cannot run away from it. Any analyst worth their salt could actually run down those figures and determine the true deficit per annum. And if we are now in the realm of $20 billion deficit, I'm asking a simple question: where is government going to get the money from? It's as simple as that. They have to start cutting costs left, right, and center. Government already raise revenues. They're not generating things to sell to raise revenues.
636-7547 or 2275739. We missed some calls there, but let's see what this caller have to say. Good afternoon. Welcome.
All I have to say is I've been listening to the past while, and I get the impression that this is just about it's my party from the callers. They're not about it's my country and all. It's my party. The last person, the fellow from Belmont, the fellow from Long Circular, that's all about. It's my party. No one cares about the country. If they did, they won't be going out to vote. They won't be arguing for incompetence. Both of them, nonsense. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, caller.
I'd just like to raise a point on the question of refinery. I've never seen a comedy of errors like this before. So initially there were 81 interested parties. Then it fell to 71 interested parties. Then it fell to 5 who actually submitted a bid. Most of those bids were for $0. Just give me the refinery and I will bring it around. There were two remaining bids, one at 40-some thousand per month for 15 years, which works out about straight line, $7 million US. And the other one was $700 million. If I had bid for an asset and I found out that the second bidder was $7 million and I bid $700 million, I'll be running far from that asset. I cannot go to the bank and raise any money. I will feel so foolish. And that is why OWTU said they have to go and kick tires again and find out the state of the... So nothing is going to happen with regards to OWTU and the purchase of the refinery. Secondly, all the ministers were boasting that we are getting $700 million upfront, payable 3 years hence. How could upfront be 3 years hence? I think the population have really been taken for a ride, and they continue the nonsense. So government said, no problem, I'll sign off the paper. Go. The ball is in your court now. OWTU is backpedaling the fastest you could. It's almost like it's a cartoon. You'll see one of those Woody Woodpecker jumping on the bike and cycling back. They don't want this. They do not want it, believe me. 700 million. And then I heard...
it's just a gimmick then.
It's just a gimmick, but we are wasting time with it. What we should be doing, government should say, look, that I don't accept. You want to pay 700 million at the end of 3 years? Bring me a bank's guarantee today. That payment will be made. Bring me the bank's guarantee, a letter of credit, and then we can deal business. Government was slack to even entertain such an offer.
I came to the conclusion that it was a political decision, clear and simple, because there is no logic. There is no commercial logic, business logic, even trade union logic in a trade union running a business. It simply makes no sense. It defeats the core function of the trade union itself.
And then who would represent the workers?
Who will represent the workers? And if
the union are going to represent themselves?
And if, in order, let's suppose they put in allow another union to come in to represent the workers because they are the owners. If they now have to bargain in a tough way in order to make the thing work with the workers, how does that impact their ability to bargain on behalf of workers in all the other organizations that they represent? It's simply totally against the grain of a trade union. Now, some people listening to me think that I am against the trade union. I am not. Matter of fact, I feel I am more defending the trade union than the trade union itself. The trade union should not allow itself to get into that position. That's such a compromising position. Because this same government will use that against them when it comes to negotiating with them later on. Why has a trade union even considered taking on
such a responsibility?
It is crazy.
We have a number of callers calling in, but we have to take a top of the hour break. It's exactly midday. Let's take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will entertain all of your calls.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 975 FM. Music for you. It's all about you.
U97.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia, for all your plumbing and electrical supplies, water heaters, filters and water pumps, plus all parts for Gould, Pentax and Leo pumps. Choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BTCino, Leviton and General Electric. Call 665-6954 for more information. KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia.
Kathy's Cool Spot Enterprises Limited, number 86 Pearville, opposite the TSTT Exchange in Mayaro. We specialize in all types of meats, dry goods, liquor, beverages, ice, LPG, gas, motor oils, stationery supplies, and photocopying. We also provide rentals of tents and chairs for your every occasion. Come in and take advantage of our specials at reduced prices on liquor, wholesale and retail. We are open every day, even on public holidays for your convenience. TT Post services are available here at Kathy's Cool Spot. Family Stuff will be happy to serve you.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Cunupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Puzzle lovers, rejoice! Your free 24-page Newsday puzzle book is now available twice a week, only in your Trinidad and Tobago Newsday. Now you really can look forward to staying home. Newsday, independent and credible.
The following is a paid political announcement.
This ad brought to you by the PNM.
PNM is the choice. PNM is the voice. PNM all the way on election day is the right choice at the right time. Hands in the air for the parties. Hey.
On August 10th, vote PNM. Great is the PNM.
That was a paid political announcement.
Seven minutes before the top of the hour, you're locked on to 10 to 1 with your host, Ann Dookie. And in studio with me is Mr. Reed Searam and David Walker, both financial experts. And welcome back, gentlemen. We were speaking heavily about Petrotrin before the commercial break. But let's hear this caller first. Hello, good afternoon and welcome.
And a blessed day to you, Mr.
Thank you.
Searam and Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And you see, the problem is we have an incompetent government. And I would say you put a prime minister, he pulled the heart of a country, which was Petrotrin. And everything take a domino effect backward. And if we, the citizens, don't open our eyes, we have 22 more days for election. And the only government I could see could handle this country is Kamala Prasad Bisesa. And this is why she's on the road, and we the citizens have to choose the best. You have hello?
You're live, yes.
You have a prime minister as a geologist, a minister of finance, and you keep going down and what all of these people not qualified for those positions. And we vote for people. Our prime minister said this, I did not need this job. He knew why he said that. And the people are stupid and it come to pass. Have a blessed
Okay, thank you, caller. I don't know if you need a qualification to be a prime minister other than to sway the public. Hello, good morning.
Good afternoon, Anne.
Good afternoon, sorry, good day.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
Talking about the nomination day. Now, nomination day is a day when that might be the only time somebody might be able to celebrate. So talk about the candidates. Because on election night, there's only going to be one winner. But I have a little take regarding Miss Marsha Walker and Keith Rowley. That's it. I think the lady has gone into his head. I think if he's in a safe seat and a young person looking up to you as a veteran politician and actually wait for you to shake your hand, because that is what was going on in the other seats. Naked and Esmond Ford, all these seats, there was a kind of camaraderie because, it's one day that you won't have all the heated battle. And this woman waits and this man behave like that. I think it has got to her head. But more than that, I think a lot of money right now is running in this election. And the radio stations, I'm not accusing your station, but I think a lot of money is to be made around now. I think the radio station will be very careful because here it is. If I could draw a reference, the Basil Pandey was fighting Couva North, and Rowley daughter was fighting Couva North, and Mr. Pandey did Rowley daughter something like that. Your station and all the papers, you know what would happen this morning? You all would have Keith Rowley daughter giving an interview on how Mr. Pandey behaved, but nobody not taking up how Keith Rowley behave, and that is wrong for a man who in politics for 29 years, at least the member of parliament for 29 years. He was in politics even since 1981. I think his behavior was very bad. But I think right now a lot of money running, so the papers and the media, they're playing a kind of two-way game. I don't know if you agree, but I'll listen offline.
Caller, hello, he left. But I tried to interview Miss Walker at the beginning and opening of the show, and she blanked me. She cut me off. She was very rude. She cut me off. Hello, good morning. Welcome.
He seems as though like here reading, here listening.
He wasn't listening to 10 to 1 from the beginning. I called Miss Walker again and again.
No, she can't give no interview. She has nothing to say.
She make excuses and she said she have her children with her. I don't know when you enter politics if there's a time to speak. Children or no children. You have to speak at any time.
What she tried with Rowley before she get into politics, I gonna shake your hand. I ain't shaking your hand. What you don't do me already as a prime minister. and tell me about your daughter, this or your daughter. So I ain't going into that. I'm not shaking your hand and don't have nothing to do with you. You could do the same thing when I shake your hand. You could say I scratch it and all that kind of thing. So the fella like he understand. Let me read and then listen what's going on. Or call Marsha and let she tell him.
Okay, thank you, caller. Just to clarify for the listeners, I tried to call Miss Walker on air and she cut me off. Right? And I'm not going to waste my time calling people like that. I give you the opportunity free on air to explain yourself. And if you don't want to do it, I have other business to move on to. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good morning again, Ann.
Good day.
Just a brief aside. I think that if the Prime Minister felt that he was slandered by the individual and he felt it hurt him so deeply that he would have no need to exchange any pleasantries with an individual of that nature, and he stated why he was not exchanging pleasantries with the individual. I don't see anything wrong in that, because if somebody and they hurt you terribly and they refuse to apologize or recognize what they have done, you may prefer to just walk past them in the street. Don't good morning to me, because obviously you don't have any good in you for me. But anyway, let me move on. Mr. Siram, when they spoke about the refinery, Mr. Imbert made it very clear that what the government was seeking to do was to assist the OWT, or should I say patriotic energies, in really getting off the ground. They did not want to burden them with financing at this point in time. So they cannot be kicked, I think it's 10 years down the road. Allow them to be able to go to the financiers, say, look, we want to get this place ready. We need so much of money. We don't have any other encumbrances right now. And let us get the thing ready and let us get it running. And Mr. Siram, I'll tell you this. Everyone knows it is the members of the OWTU who knows where every bolt, screw, nut is in that refinery. If anyone could restart it, it is the OWTU members. I expect them to run a lean, mean, clean crew. I don't expect them to have more than 1,000 permanent workers on that refinery. They may have some casual and all of that, but they can't run more than 1,000 workers on that refinery. At the end of the day, if we were able to assist them in getting into the refinery, starting it up, it will be down to the benefit of us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Well, these gentlemen may disagree with you there, but we will take your explanation after. Hello, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have been listening to this program from the very start, and I think you have been very disingenuous with Miss Marsha, whatever her name is.
Walker.
There was a real bad connection when you made contact with her, and I think you have been very disingenuous.
No, she clearly cut the phone. You don't know what she said to me off air.
Cut the phone. The connection was bad.
Do you know what she said to me off air? She refused to come and explain herself. I am the journalist here, not you. I call her, I give everybody a fair chance. I call her and ask her to come and explain herself. Right, my cameraman was in studio with me when I had to beg her to come on the air. If you are refusing as a candidate, how are you going to face the public on election day? Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you too.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, I am interested. It looked like the Auditor General is like another toothless bulldog, because they produce
Could I interject? I don't normally do this. An auditor, full stop, an auditor, any auditor, the terminology they use is an auditor is more like a watchman than a bulldog. It's in the nature of the profession. The auditor is not the one who goes after anybody they find and so on. That falls to somebody else, which I was trying to explain earlier. They simply do their work, pass the report on, and somebody else is supposed to take it up. Our governance structure has to create somebody who will then take their work and move forward with it.
Maybe I was too harsh in my explanation. Yes, they do what they have to do, and it is for the powers that be to take the reports in any organization, in any structure, and do what has to be done. But it is clear that we do not, either there's a missing link somewhere. We do not have the policies in place to say, well, look, if you don't submit 5 years or 6 years report, well, then you could be disciplined in a kind of a way.
Correct. We need some kind of automatic system.
Right.
Somebody who's a director of a state enterprise that's not reported for 5 years should automatically be banned or something of the sort.
Right. I would go that route. I don't have a problem. What I'm interested in is, well, I know the OWT get 10 years before they could give back any money. But who can guarantee that within this period they're going to effectively and efficiently restart the refinery?
Well, there's no guarantee, and I have a very, very, very serious problem with the arrangement that's been made. And it keep coming back to having processes and procedures. You don't use processes and procedures when you feel like it or when it suits you. If you have a procurement process, as a result of the procurement process, one person won on particular terms, you cannot then change the terms, as has been done with OWTU.
Exactly, and I endorse your statement that this situation with Petrotrin, now called Patriotic whatever, is just a political move to satisfy those within the OWTU that, look, we're going to allow OWTU to the refinery and they're going to be judged for all you, so all you cool all yourself and vote back with. That is my submission.
Yeah, I want to expand a bit on Petrotrin. The point I've been making, and not only today, is that arrangement is so artificial, it's so outlandish, it is equivalent to a hoax. Nothing will happen. The problem is, if nothing happens, that's fine. However, in the meantime, we have the whole refinery there that is virtually rusting, it's deteriorating. Every minute that passes, that asset deteriorates. And the question I have is that who is going to account for the deterioration in value in that asset? And the longer we wait by playing games, now the government has signed. One of the original part of that agreement is for the government to move forward, OWTU has to submit a business plan. How foolish can that be when the government now has to approve the business plan? It means to say that they have surrendered their independence on that whole arrangement. Because if 2 years down the road, government has approved the business plan, and 2 years down the road, the OWTU says, look, I can't manage this thing, this doesn't make sense, and give it back. The government can't say, wait a minute, why are you giving it back to me? OWTU will say, but you approved the business plan. This is bizarre. It's bizarre. And at best case, it is bizarre. And I'm saying this will not move. And the first thing I wish to emphasize, please, if somebody in the government and somebody in the population, some citizens could explain to me how does 700 million upfront payment is equivalent to a payment 3 years down the road. Please explain that fundamental to me.
Let's take this caller first. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to 10 to 1.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, people. I'm sorry, good afternoon. Just one quick question. Why was Petrotrin closed down? The real reason. Thank you, people.
Thank you.
The short answer to that is that we don't know. Because we know that 3 major studies had been done. They were reputedly cost almost $90 million to do those studies, and none of them advocated closing of the refinery.
Yes.
None of them. And also, Wilfred Espine, who was the chairman at the time, said that he did not recommend.
He did not have any
idea
himself.
He said so publicly that he did not recommend. So neither the studies, the independent studies, nor he who was the chairman, appointed by Rowley, none of them proposed.
He didn't know. He was like the husband. He was the last to know.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Ann.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sriram.
Good afternoon, sir.
And the next gentleman there.
Good afternoon.
Mr. David Walker.
Mr. Walker. Now, I want to tell the man they call, oh God, let the boy forget her name, yes. The one who study call on the piano, keep dating for piano.
Eric,
that the only man who knows about the refinery is Roger. I want to tell Eric, Roger don't know from his head to his toe in that refinery. Because when the cat cracker was done, nobody in Trinidad could fix it. They bring 2 experts from outside and get them to fix the cat cracker. So Eric, nobody, the person who knew about that refinery was a man they call Alexander and a man they call Whitney. Them is the man who was inside that refinery from the white man days. Them could tell you every bolt and screw in that refinery. And them 2 guys resigned. I think they gone beyond, God forbid it. And that's it. All the rest of people who works in that refinery until it closed was a set of book sense people. All the old head who know about the refinery went. So Eric, don't come and tell me that Roger know that refinery. Roger know from head to toe in that refinery. So don't come with that garbage and fool people. And Roger only then make it that Roger can't get a refinery because Roger them don't have a finance. So we get a refinery, you have to put out that money and you have to look for $2 billion to start to run that refinery. Where that refinery going down right now from that 18 months it closed down. So Eric don't come with that kind of dotishness. I'm inside here every day and I could tell you about it. Right?
Okay, caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, I had to come back here. This question of the oil refinery. OWTU, its members, its whatever you want to, weren't they part responsible for the shutdown of Petrotrin in terms of the work ethics, the work attitude, etc.? And you are asking the same set of people to take up the refinery. Remember, at the start of this PNM government regime, unions were offered $15 million as, well, thank you very much messages. And Mr. David Abdullah, all due respect to him, he jump in ship like if you know where you want to go, because however the wave run is so hitting. And you know, people need to think and think hard. Why it is we never recover the sugar industry, offer the union then, the sugar industry to run in the same way they're offering the union the oil refinery to run.
Okay, let's hear this other caller before you respond. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We are speaking about the Auditor General and who they have to give account on. I think the PS, I used to be a head of division in the government department, and the PS is the accounting officer of any different ministries in Trinidad.
Yes, that's right.
Correct.
Right. So if the PS is the accounting officer, then definitely the Auditor General will submit that report to the PS, right? And the PS would be in the best position to say whether she agree or disagree, or whether she should put out an inquiry into it. But it has been going on so all the time. It would never change. Government would come and government would go, and they would not change that because it's nothing to help them or don't help them. All what they do is just punish the people of Trinidad and Tobago when the Auditor General submit. But then after they always submit it late, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. I mean, this thing should be done immediately. Every year, the Auditor General at the end of 1990, it should be 1991, submit it up and say whether they have money or they don't have, so the politician would know how much they have and how much they have. I want to deal with Mr. Eric, my good partner, a little bit about property tax. Do people of Trinidad have an account of how many properties we have in Trinidad, how much tax they would pay, and an idea how much we would get? Mr. Eric, I don't know if you could help me out with that. I'll be so thankful, because I always hear you talk about the property tax. I know everybody. I am saying I have to pay property tax. I must pay tax. Tax is the only way to have your road cut, your drainage, you get medicine, you must pay tax. But then it's how much you must pay. But do they have and will everybody pay? I feel if I pay they carry Jack, Johnny, and Mali, everybody also should pay. But I don't think in this country that they take free current and they don't pay and they can't do them anything. And we all know that. There's nothing to say, well, property tax would definitely help us. The issue of Point of View refinery, it too to me would not see a green donkey, and until Roger them getting that, the Prime Minister is just fooling them, and he would continue to fool them, because a union leader cannot be a company owner, because he used to collect money from the union, from the people who employ there. Who is going to money? Going to collect money for himself and put it in his own pocket? Two things that wouldn't say. But anybody get that company at that price, if they close it down and sell all the land alone from here to AU to fight about all about, they would make trillions of dollars, not millions, trillions of dollars. So I don't see what it is they're talking about. It's a very good deal, a very, very good price, but it depends on what condition. But I think the government should open back that company in a smaller way and more modern way and all these sorts of things, because gas is too high in Trinidad and Tobago. It's really affecting my pocket and many other people's pocket in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Colin Imbo says, I raised gas 3 times and all you riot yet. You should lock you up and all for that, because he encouraging rioting. Because you tell them all you riot, technically mean riot now. I thank you ever so much.
Thank you, caller. We have a number of callers coming in, but let us give the gentleman some time to respond on Petrotrin.
I want to answer one specific issue that somebody raised about the fact, well, their statement that basically they're saying that it is the union that ran down the refinery. I want him to listen to Wilfred Espinay. Wilfred Espinay is the man who was appointed chairman
yes,
by Keith Rowley Wilfred Espinay, in an interview with, I think it was either Newsday or Guardian, said clearly the biggest problem at Petrotrin that created the situation that they have was political interference. And he didn't stop there. He went on to say, in clear language, political interference was the major problem, even more so than the union. He actually made the comparison. Yet still you hear people saying union, and nobody is asking what was it that the politicians that did that was so bad that Wilfred Espinay found it necessary to name them as the biggest problem at Petrotrin. That's what we should be asking, rather than going after, because you see it's easy to go after the union. You know, Roger makes a nice target for a lot of people. But they didn't pay attention to when Espinay, who is their own appointee, said political interference was the major problem. I know you wanted to say something, Vet, so go ahead. I just wanted to make that point.
I can't agree with you more, but there were also problems with regards to management as well. So I think there's a combination of all of that. I think with regards to the union, they have unions agreement, and it's a question of fair play. But if you're using it as a political appointment, a place for political appointments, that is what causes the problem. And once you have overstaffing way beyond your requirement, the laws of diminishing return sets in, and I think the whole idea of Petrotrin could have been fixed. If you listen to experts and so on, one of the largest refineries in the world, that's the most efficient refinery, Reliance in Gujarat, is run by very few people but a very sophisticated computer system. But if I may just sidetrack a little bit, where one of the callers said that and a green donkey you would not see, remind me of a story. Pablo Escobar, he was creating a zoo in his ranch with all the money that he's had, and he ordered a set of zebras. So the caretaker found one or two of the zebras died, so he painted the donkeys in stripes. So from afar, Pablo Escobar could not detect whether they were. So we could paint a few green donkeys and you'll be surprised.
Let's hear this caller here. Good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, and Mr. Sriram again, and the expert. That same refinery, the closure of the refinery is with Roger and them. Roger
So
have people.
you're disagreeing with Mr. Espinay? You know something Mr. Espinay didn't know?
No, I'm telling you because why I tell you that? Petrotrin had 5,000 employees. Petrotrin had 10,000 contract workers. Right? When I say contract workers, contractors. If they had to move a pole from point A to point B, a company man will watch it there and don't move it. And if you tell him move it, he go to the union. They had to employ a contractor to move it there. And the supervisor, hey, how much you move this boat? He tell you $10, he say $5 for me. So you put in $15 to do the boat, move the boat. And that's how that company run, brother. And that's the carry that company waiting today.
So I ask you the question again. You do not believe Mr. Espinay when he said political interference was the biggest problem?
Yes.
You don't agree with him?
Yes, I agree with him. Because that company lately, when Mr. Manning was there, a lot of friends and family employed in the company. When Kamala then was there, a lot of friends and family employed in that company.
So it's not the union? It's the politicians?
The union is the one that had the company men them going to work, grant big salary. And moving up in. That's why they go to work with the morning. With the hand shining, they come back home with the hand shining the same way.
If you're a union leader, your job is, as far as I understand, to look after the interests of the workers. And if you have a bunch of politicians who see fit to bring in lots of workers, as a union leader, would you be doing your duty if you say, no, I don't want those people? Or I don't want you to pay them so much?
The union still saying
that is what I am saying. It is if we look at the union as the problem, we will always have problems at Petrotrin.
Because why I tell you this?
Because the problem starts at the top.
That company upgrades so much that they had men all about in the tank farm. It's a climb tank, the dip tank.
We agreeing.
All that went computer.
We agreeing.
Kaka went computerized. And how you still telling me that you still have to employ more and more people to run the company?
We
So then
agree,
all the subscriptions
gentlemen,
will go
we're in
to-
agreement. They were overstaffed. We're in agreement, and some would even have been overpaid. The
Yes.
difference between where you stand and where I stand is that I believe a union's job is to look after the best interests of the workers. The management's job is to look after the best interests of the company. If the management fail in their duty and allow overstaffing and overpayment, that is the management's fault. That's not the union's fault. No union leader is going to say, don't pay my worker $1,000, pay him $500. No union leader is going to say that.
Because they get more money in their pocket.
No, that is their job. It is their job to represent the
Because every
workers.
time if you get 5 cents more on your pay, the union get a penny outside.
Yeah,
Union
but-
dues.
Yeah, there are two different things. What I'm saying is, if there is overstaffing, it's not the union that employed these people. It's management that employed them, and that is the point David is making.
But we still
But
saying the company
no.
saying the company was overstaffed.
We
But
agreed.
then you-
We
they
all
short
agree
of
on that.
100 and something workers still.
Most state enterprises are overstaffed. Look at what's
We agreed on that, but let me take one last thing there about who is responsible. One of the major pieces of losses was I think it's $3 billion. I think it was the ultra low sulfur diesel or whatever it is.
That gas liquid plant they put up there.
And then at the end, they discover that the foundation that they had built
WGTL
wasn't
plant.
accredited. Who going to take the blame for that?
Exactly. Where the Agitech was.
It is the management and the political directorate.
It comes down to management.
But somehow everybody will blame the fella who's sweeping up, and they find instead of getting $10, instead of getting $50, he should have been getting $20, and everybody focusing on that fella instead of focusing on the person who facilitates the $3 billion wasted. We're looking at the wrong people.
Exactly,
let me
That's
make
how it
a-
goes in that company.
Let's hear this caller before you answer, Wade. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mr. Walker, you have been making the point accountability and political interference. And let me take listeners back. That extension from Shagwana to Sampa on the Hotel Highway was done with Wimpy having the contract. Ministry of Works supervised that contract. All employees that Wimpy wanted were hired through the Ministry of Works. There was accountability. Come after that, 1976, fired the Governor General, put a president. All these commissioners appointed by the Prime Minister. He tells the president who to appoint. And what happens then? The Ministry of Works become a Ministry of Contract. The building superintendent, the engineers have nothing to do with nothing. Everything is contract. It's all political interference all the way from 76 come down. And all the corruption in this country, and all the stupidness that take place all over this country has to do with political interference. And you're making a good point, David. Keep it up, and I think it's time people start listening to the truth to get this country right. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
We keep coming back to the same problems. We need to get the infrastructure right, the governance infrastructure with the accountability and so on. That really is the core of the problem, The
And it will go
gatekeepers.
on and on if we don't get this correct.
That's right. And it's not just the people within the government service. What is the function of the Law Association, for example? What is the function of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Trinidad and Tobago? When they see all of these things happening, why can't they say something and help guide the discussion in the right direction? It's because it seems to me they have become part of the problem as well. We talked about Section 34 and that problem. In all the time, I have not heard the Law Association make a single comment about it. In the collapse of CLICO and CL Financial, where is the Institute of Chartered Accountants to guide us as to where the problem is and how we're going to avoid any problem like it in the future? Nothing. So they just sit there on the sidelines, look after the interests. Well, they're almost as worse than the unions. They're interested in looking after the interests of their members, regardless of the interests of the nation. We need, they have some nice fancy terminologies for it. So we want our gatekeepers to function. There's so much that we see going wrong. where the solutions are blatantly obvious. And in some cases, they may not be blatantly obvious, but people who have expertise would know what the solutions are. We need to get these people functioning properly. And for me, that's one of the big differences between now and 50 or 60 years ago. And you could even take it at a very, very low level. I was a little boy riding my bicycle around. In those days, they used to have a little license that you used to have on your bicycle. You had to have a license to ride a bicycle, by the way. You used to pay, and that had to be on your bicycle. And if I don't know what they call them, they weren't police officers, but they were people who looked out for you.
Like traffic wardens.
Yes. And would stop you. Would
If
even
you didn't have that
confiscate your
license.
bicycle if it came to that. And it is that layer in society, that layer that ensures that we comply with the rules and regulations and procedures, that has gone missing, completely missing in society today.
David, let's hear this caller. Hello, good afternoon, welcome.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes?
Good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Since we are speaking about the closure of Petrotrin, we must look at the issue in that it is shared responsibility under what has happened with Petrotrin, where you had a government who lied to this country blatantly, who said they were not going to close Petrotrin. Lo and behold, Petrotrin was closed. You had a Minister of Energy who constantly was saying that nothing was going to happen in Petrotrin. And then you also had shared with Petrotrin was the ANP drilling oil fiasco, which yet to hear anything proper out of that. And then you have a union who was very lukewarm in the dealings with what was going on with that, with the closure. You saw with Roger and company during the People's Partnership government was ruthless in the way that they were protesting against the People's Partnership. But when it came to the people, when it comes to the People's National Movement and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Roger et al. Were very lukewarm. Most of the times when they went, we're going to pray to God, say, God, oh God, don't close me down. But they did not even do that. What they did is very, how can I say, OWTU like in their protesting. Did they drag a Rowley mannequin on the ground? Did they beat a mannequin as what they did with Kamala Prasad Center? No. So when they came now and then they are now crying. You got what you wanted. You got the government that you wanted. And the government that you got closed down your company, put people on the breadline, and now, instead of Roger standing up and saying it's time to remove, and saying now is the time to remove Dr. Rowley, what is he saying? Nothing. They got a chance to buy it. What has happened to that?
Okay, we have to take other callers. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you all.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
And David.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Roger is believing, like when you had a dad long time and he promised you a gift. He promising you and you're waiting, and when you get the gift, you realize it is of no use. You cannot use it. Or it's out of time or something like that, right? And another thing, this pension increase for the government, prime minister and ministers, will this be in effect then? And if so, could anything be done by the lawyers to stop it?
Well, it's interesting.
Listen off air.
It's interesting you brought that point. There's a gentleman in India who is asking the courts to reverse all the pensions and so on for cabinet ministers in India. And what he's saying, they offer themselves to serve, not to enrich themselves or not to secure their financial future. So that would be an interesting case to follow. I don't know how widespread it's advertised, but I think it's an interest because they're raising the point. You can't be doing that and discriminate. You cannot discriminate here in society that, okay, judges will increase their pension, we'll tie it into inflation rates and so on. I don't know if they've done that. And then the rest of the population is just left in limbo, faced with inflation that decreases their take. I think something has to be done with that.
Let's hear this caller. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, welcome.
And of course, I ask back to the question. Mr. Walker and to Mr. Searound. When US is selling in black market in your country, who encouraged that? And does the IMF, the World Bank, Transparency, and those 7 powerful institutions, does it mislead a country to go into poverty? Have a blessed and wonderful day to you also.
Before you answer, Wade, let's hear this caller here. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon again. Growing up as a little boy, I saw the sugar industry close down, cocoa, coffee, citrus, everything. Caroni Racing Complex, they tried that, it failed. The train system failed. Peewee failed. They said they was going to build a new airport. They took our government years after to build it. They scorned the airport because they didn't build it. But here, 2 days consecutive, Rowley came as like a school teacher with a stick and pointing out about the wages of the workers in Petrotrain and how a cleaner getting 15,000, and he even draw something like a UNC yellow truck backing up by the treasury and people forking out $100 bills and throwing it in the truck. He said the country didn't have no money. So what they're going to do now, close down Petrotrain to give back Petrotrain to the workers, and they say the workers was collecting high salaries. Now Eric say it would be mean and lean. So okay, 1,000 workers. So what happened to the other 4,000 workers? So what happened? What salary are you going to get the workers? The same 25,000 and 30,000, or the workers going to take a 75% pay cut? One more thing, the news there, last month, they printed the wages of some senior executives in Heritage. You know what was the wages? 155,000, 105,000 plus perks. So you really expect, Anne, that this new dispensation, that Petrotrain going to survive? Come on, let we be really paying them carry on nothing. I'll listen off here again.
Okay. Wade?
Yeah, the previous caller, with regards to Petrotrain, I'm of the firm view that nothing is going to happen, and we'll have a wasting asset. Whatever the value, even scrap value, is going to get worse. So nothing is going to happen with regards to OWTU. No bank is going to finance it. The second bid I told you was $7 million compared to $700 million. That alone, you can't even approach a bank. A banker will say, well, okay, if I have to sell it, who's the next bidder in line? 7 million. So right away, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Let's take some calls before you... Okay. Hello, good afternoon.
And this is my last call. I really
Yes, Eric.
You know, when the bill was passed into the Parliament by Mr. Imbert in relation to the pension of members of Parliament, you know, the UNC opposed it, save and except for Ganga Singh. But I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it didn't. I wanted a statement from Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa that she's directing all of her members not to accept this pension, to make sure if they get it, they give it to a charity or something like that, and that never came. So it is not just the PNM members that get it, but all members. But let me just say this to you. My position in my process of constitutional reform, I would pay ministers of government well. I want the best talent. I want persons there who can think about the best things you can do with the country, create new streams of economy, and everything else. Because if you attract the best talent, you're going to have the best. We have an example of that, you know, a little island called Singapore. Ask Lee Kuan Yew how much he paid his ministers. That is why Singapore is a shining city on the hill compared to Trinidad today. You attract the best talent, and you put them to work, and they do the best they could for the country. Pay them well. That is my view.
Hello, good afternoon. Okay, Wade, go ahead and answer.
Yeah, but there are 2 points. One caller raised the issue about the multinational, the agencies, right? The World Bank, IMF, and so on. And there's a good book written by a previous worker, a senior executive at the IMF, and the title of the book was Economic Hitman. And I would recommend that book be read for the simple reason it gives you insights as to how these people think and are able to fudge the numbers and the data and the feasibility of things to get large projects funded and then taken over by American firms, very similar to what China is doing now around the globe. The second point the caller raised, I also felt that the opposition members should not have agreed with it. And if you're going to pay parliamentarians, greed is hell of a thing, you know. It doesn't matter how much money you're working, and if you're corrupt, you'll continue to be corrupt. One of, I think, was it the Dalai Lama said that there's enough wealth in this world to satisfy the needs of every citizen in the globe today, on the planet, but not enough wealth to even satisfy one greedy man. So we have to be very careful about, and I think it's a question of leadership, and the caller is right. I thought the opposition leader missed an opportunity there to say, look, we are not voting for it, period. For the simple reason, when that was brought to Parliament, Trinidad was already in dire economic strait. And the problem I've been having over the last at least 6 years is that the economists, when they first started to have all these conferences and seminars and so on, everyone was shouting that the fundamentals in Trinidad is sound. And I'm saying, no, we are very weak. We are very, very fragile. And they were not seeing it. And they were saying, okay, we'll replace oil export by other exports. And nobody was recognizing that all the other exports are basically dependent upon subsidies coming from the oil sector.
From the oil sector.
We have nothing outside of the energy sector. Absolutely nothing.
Oil and gas,
we have a lot of potential, but we've never
been developed.
taken the steps to develop that potential into real revenue earning capacity. What frustrates me perhaps more, no, let me not say so. My biggest frustration right now is the level of debt and the debt servicing cost. But next to that is the allied issue of diversification. We talk and we talk and we talk.
I have been hearing about diversification for
billions
over
of
20
dollars
years.
And achieve nothing. If we don't get that right, we're in trouble. More trouble than we are. That is where we have to focus. And you can't do that by getting up on a Monday morning because you happen to be in a trip going through somewhere and you see something you like, you decide that we're going to invest in that. We have to be prepared to do the work. And it seems that there's work that they don't like or maybe they don't understand. You have to do proper investment appraisal. You have to study things, look at alternatives and make the best decisions.
Look at the feasibility of it.
You don't go with what you feel.
Let's hear this caller, David. Good afternoon.
Yes, first again, what revenue stream presently is the PNO have they created for the country? Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, these are essentially agreeing with what we're saying. But then, it's not confined to the PNM. Let's face it, it's the last 40 years. All
whichever regime is in power.
Over the last 40 years. We have, I don't know what other ways to say it. We have to evaluate where we're going to spend money. And I'll give you an example after we hear from this caller.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome. Hello, caller, are you there? Okay, go ahead, David.
This may take a little while, so we may have to do in 2 bits.
Go ahead. You go right ahead. Callers, you'll have to hold a bit. Let David have his explanation.
I want to give you an analogy and then give you how it applies to our current situation. The analogy is this. You live in a residential area that has, let's say, 1,000 houses. You have a little car mechanic shop and you're doing okay. You're making $7,000, $8,000 a month. You can live. You're not going to get filthy rich, but you're getting by.
You could survive.
The bank is happy with you and so on. The government makes an announcement that they're about to double the size of the development and they will be building a shopping mall and a school. So you go to the bank and you say, well, there are going to be more cars in the area. I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to need $100,000. The bank says, yeah, we could support you with that because of, your track record and what we know is going to happen. Before you have time to spend the money and do the investment, the government announces it's changed its mind. Do you still go ahead with the investment? Would anybody who's listening here advocate still going ahead with the investment? That's the analogy. Now let me give you the real situation we face. We said we were going to spend $1.2 billion to upgrade the airport in Tobago. We're doing that on the basis that, one, we were going to get Sandals, which was going to bring a lot of traffic through. And also we expected natural growth over the years in the amount of people. So Sandals is no longer coming, so you no longer have... So
you don't have that asset.
Plus, COVID has struck, which has diminished your throughput down to about 20% of what it was. Do you still do the development?
You know, David, that's a very important point, and let me expand a bit on it. And a good manager will know when to cut their losses. A good manager knows when to cut their losses.
Cut and move on.
Because other than that, you're going to spend more good money after bad.
Correct.
And the question is, once the environment changes, then you say you change. You have to adapt.
You must adapt. And that goes on to something that I've been hearing a lot about, both in Tobago and in Trinidad. They're talking about we have to adapt to the new normal. That's the terminology you're hearing all the time now. What is this new normal?
What is the new normal?
What is this new normal? Does this new normal mean we should be downsizing in certain areas? That we should be moving into new areas? What is it? Does it include simply going ahead with all the projects that we have, which seems to be what we're doing?
But that is where a discussion should take place. What is exactly the new normal?
Which should be led by the government.
Right. But one of the assumptions with regards to that is how long will this COVID-19 last? Globally, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And what you're seeing now today, there's a reversal now of globalization, and people are looking internally now. Even China has adopted the policy, guys, internal growth. Forget this dependence on export. We'll continue to do that. But let us also change direction and have internal growth.
Right. So we need to factor that into our plans.
That is correct. India has also adopted local production, local consumption. They've adopted that. America is doing the same as well. That's why they're encouraging companies that has been dispersed all over the world. They're saying American companies come back into America. Now, Trinidad has to do the same, because a caller put it very succinctly, very clearly, that we don't have oil, we don't have gas, we don't have sugar, we don't have agriculture, we don't have cocoa. So what do you have? You have to look internally and say, okay, guys, we are no longer a player in the global economy, because we really have nothing to export. In fact, what we do have to export is dependent upon manipulation by the larger oil and gas companies in terms of pricing. Other than that, what do? We have to look internally. And then to do that internally, we must ask the question, what resources do we have? We are not living in a desert. We are living in a fairly lush country with enough water, with good soil. And agriculture, agro-processing, recycling, local tourism, local content policy, those are planks we can start building this economy on.
We have to be prepared to do the analysis. And I get the impression sometimes that our politicians are afraid of analysis, that you put too many figures in front of them and they want to run a mile. So when they talk about new normal, they don't seem to be prepared to do the work to say, what is this new normal? Not only for government's sake, but for business sake. How do you plan your business if you don't know what the government is forecasting, where, what sectors they're going to invest in and so on? Business people need that information from government. If, for example, we decide we're going big on renewable energy, just as an example, hypothetical example, then business people know that is a sector where if they have abilities that they should be prepared to invest in. But if the government is not saying what direction it is going in, how do you guide businesses? Why would you expect businesses to put their hands in their pockets and say we're going to invest in the country going forward?
But this is one of the problems I have with the committee's initial recommendation. I didn't see the last incarnation of it. But by and large, they're saying construction. Constructing what? And for whom? It can't be commercial buildings. We have an oversupply of commercial buildings. It can't be industrial buildings. We have an oversupply. It can be housing, sure, but for the unemployed, who's going to fund it? And therein lies our problem. We have fallen back into the old solutions to this.
We're saying new normal. We're saying new normal, but we're implementing same old, same old.
We're short of time, but I just want to make the point, right, with regards to the oil industry. We're producing about 40,000 barrels a day and maybe a little more, roughly that. We can set up a refinery to produce, to refine that for our own consumption, for our own consumption.
Local consumption.
Because we have a situation now that the cost of energy for Trinidad importation would be more than what we are exporting.
Yeah.
So the case arises now, where are we going to find the US dollars to make those imports? Because from the oil and gas industry as we know it today, is not supplying the kind of currency that we are used to. And I was shocked to see that in the Delta, where the Nigerians, the local guys, and the gangs, they call them, they are stealing oil from the pipes and actually refining it in barrels like how we make bush from here. And they are selling that. They are selling that to the people in Nigeria, in Lagos, that they're using in their vehicles. And what was quite interesting is that the general rule is that when you're working there, you work in your birthday suit, because you do not want gasoline or diesel to fall on your clothes. You can catch on fire. So they're as naked as they are born, and they are producing refined product. So I'm saying, look, man, if these fellas are so creative, we always say we are innovative, but we are in no class with people around the world.
No, I disagree. I disagree very, very strongly with you there. We have lots of creators, especially amongst our younger generation, but we do not have the risk capital to give them the opportunity to develop and to create some of the things we want that will generate foreign exchange.
Let's take this last caller before we wind down. Hello, good afternoon.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say that risk capital is a big, big risk, eh? And
Yes.
the government is too afraid to take that risk. And they've always been like that with our young people. They'll never take that risk. And you know what? That's why they invest in monopolies, because it's a
Invest
sure
in
win.
buildings, yes.
It's a sure win when you have a monopoly. But when you want to invest in innovation and small businesses and small enterprises, it's a big risk. But we have to take that risk. Because let me tell you something, the market changing, oil and gas is transforming because of renewable energy. We still need oil. We still need petroleum to move some of this machinery to make it work. And you'll never lose oil. You see, coal is gone now. We're heading into a direction where we're going to look at now clean energy. But these corporations that are coming down here to invest in clean energy, we are not telling our young people, look, we're going to get ready for the trades job now that is going to possibly come up. We don't have the right leaders leading us right now, or leading the young people into innovation. Most people working in little silos and do the little thing, but you still got the monopolies controlling. Let me tell you something, I believe in change, and I believe in rehabilitation. Parliament isn't a place for us to rehabilitate people. But if you say you made a mistake and you understand your mistake and you want to move forward, I will say, let me give you a chance, because that is a risk we're going to have to take, and we could change it later on. So, I see the UNC as a way. I'm not a party loyal supporter. I see the ideology, and I'm going to follow that. And like you say, we don't invest in our young people. We don't invest in education, and we're going to be left behind again, as usual.
Ms. Madras, just hold the line. Don't leave. Afraid you could comment.
No, absolutely. And David, you're right. We have a lot of innovative people in Trinidad. I'm just saying that our innovation is that the people saying we want a handout. Look, you saw that book written by...
Ms. Madras, if you could just redial me, please. I have a message for you.
If you saw that young gentleman, a young boy, a teenager, was building windmills to generate electricity. He didn't wait for a handout. Now, I'm not saying we can't create the conditions for it. That's what university is here for.
Here's the nature of the problem. It's got several facets, and I'm just going to touch on a few of them. One, I'll start with an example. Bill Gates created Microsoft. The other guy created Facebook, etc. Either one of them, having been born and residing in Trinidad, could not have created those companies, simply because those companies take capital in the early stages, which nobody will provide here. Amazon, which is one of the phenomenally successful companies, ran losses in the billions of dollars for years. We do not have anybody that will support ventures of that sort. Now, I understand why that is the case in the private sector, because in the private sector, if you've been able to make money just by bringing down a Mercedes-Benz that costs you $300,000 and sell it for $700,000, you are not attuned to risk as part of your business planning. So you're just not prepared to do that. So I understand that. So we have to find a way that would enable us to have the risk capital to support our new generation. We need a new generation of business entrepreneurs, but we need a risk capital that will support them. Now, the irony of it all is, in looking at diversification, the greatest risk that we can take, I want you to understand this clearly, the greatest risk that we can take is to take no risk. The only way you succeed in diversification is by taking risk. By definition, you have to get into things that you're not currently doing. And that seems to have not gotten through to people in government. We have to do things that are different, but we have to do them in a structured, well thought out, well researched kind of way. And we do not have the people in the leadership positions that will drive that kind of diversification. I'm hopeful, I'm still hopeful that, one of the parties will eventually understand out of necessity that is what we have to do and put the resources into it.
Wait, let me have your closing comments and we have to wind down now.
Well, thank you for the discussion today.
We will continue this discussion on Wednesday. On Wednesday, right? On the Economic Forum.
And thank all the callers for making
their input, of course.
Of course.
David, thank you for making your way all the way here in studio to join us.
That's quite
It was indeed an enlightening discussion. Maybe sometime again soon you can join us.
I think I should be able to join you fairly soon because I'm due back in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, you have my number. You can WhatsApp me.
Yes, and I have to say I really enjoyed your callers and the kinds of questions and comments that they were making.
Yes, food for thought. Yes. This is U975 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio, winding down 10 to 1 now. And if you have missed any part of these interviews, you can catch it on YouTube on RCL U975. Have yourself a wonderful day.
KY's Electrical Supplies Limited of Southern Main Road, Cunupia, for all your plumbing and electrical supplies, water heaters, filters and water pumps, plus all parts for Gould, Pentax and Leo pumps. Choose from leading brands such as Cooper, Varma, BT Sino, Leviton and General Electric.